Welcome to Cat and Jess Talk the Best, where we're going to be talking about IMDb's top 250 movies from April 12th, 2018. My name is Kat.
And I'm Jess.
And today we are doing our very first event. We would like to introduce our guests, Dana Hough.
Hello.
And Erik Sandefur.
Howdy.
Why? Why are you the way you are?
So this is going to be the only event that will have a film from the list in the event. It'll be 2 Harry Potter events from now.
Yeah.
So when we get to Deathly Hallows Part 2 on the list, we'll skip it to save it for that episode. And it's going to be pretty much like a normal show. We'll do the first film, then go into spoilers for it, trivia, favorite lines, so on and so forth. And then after that, we'll go to the second and then third. So here is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, an adventure family fantasy film from 2001. This has a 7.6 on 39 votes. Numbers.
You can do numbers.
I can do numbers sometimes. So do we want to say what our houses are, or?
Yeah, we can do that.
Alright. I am a Slytherin.
I'm a Gryffindor.
I am a Ravenclaw.
And I'm a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, you are.
A resident Hufflepuff who has never read the book.
Yeah, never read the books, fam.
And his second time watching the movies.
Yep, second time. Now all the way, I've seen all of them the second
all
time
of them,
now officially.
all the way through.
So he was a muggle, but now he's getting
Closer to Muggle
I'm working my way.
Slow.
closer to Muggle-born.
Yeah.
Slow.
And the three of us are Wizard-born.
Wizard-born.
Weirdos.
Weirdos? I'm sorry, we know how to read.
Yeah.
Like,
So we're intelligent.
I read these in like elementary school.
Right? Like, I don't know, like 3rd grade.
Sorry, I got made fun of for having glasses, and my glasses broke. That's why I never did anything Harry Potter.
I know, you have a good reason for not liking Harry Potter at first. It's okay.
Alright, so the synopsis, spoiler-free synopsis for the first film. Adaptation of the first of J.K. Rowling's popular children's novels about Harry Potter, a boy who learns on his 11th birthday that he is an orphaned son of 2 powerful wizards and possesses unique magical powers of his own. He is summoned from his life as an unwanted child to become a student at Hogwarts, an English boarding school for wizards. There he meets several friends who become his closest allies and help him discover the truth about his parents' mysterious death.
Yeah.
Alright, so actors and directors. Jess.
Alright, so the director for Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets is Chris Columbus. Don't be mixed up with, that other famous Chris Columbus.
Christopher Columbus. It's the first thing I said.
First thing. He's done these 2. He also directed the movie musical Rent. Also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And of course, we got our 3 main actors that did the film all throughout the entire series. So we got Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter.
And he also did The Woman in Black.
Woman in Black.
Which I think killed his acting career.
Just a little bit.
That's okay.
It's okay.
He's just
Still love
very
you,
popular
Daniel.
forever.
Love you, Daniel. Anyway, so then we got Rupert Grint. He is our Ron Weasley.
What else did he do?
He's done
Nothing.
some British shows, I think. Just like
Okay.
TV stuff. TV spots, and he owns an ice cream truck.
Oh, nice!
Yeah.
I'm finding that when I go to England.
And then, of course, our Hermione Granger is Emma Watson.
Yep.
Who's been in everything, and
Yeah.
she's wonderful, magical.
Yeah.
I love her. Favorite. I love Hermione
Favorite.
Granger. And she
Emma.
was Belle in Beauty and the Beast.
Yes!
Which
Yep.
we talked
Favorite
about
princess.
in a
talked
previous
about, I think,
episode.
5 episodes ago?
Alright.
Alright, so Rotten Tomatoes. Alright, so the average rating is a 7.1. Got an 80% on 194 critical reviews, 156 fresh, and 38 rotten. 2 of the fresh, Anthony Lane said Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is, despite its trickery, the plainest and least surprising of artifacts. The work of art that is exactly the sum of its part, neither more or less. That doesn't really sound positive to me.
That sounds like neutral.
It's kind of neutral, but in a sense, it's like exactly what you would expect, which is kind of a good thing because you create this image in your head of what you expect it to be, and that makes it sound like it was exactly what he thought it was going to be. So I mean,
There we go.
that could be positive.
And Jamie Bernard Harry Potter's first venture onto the screen is a solid blockbuster. I don't think there's really any arguing with that.
No.
And then the two rotten. Peter Rainier. The filmmakers want to show us a magical world that is, at the same time, wholly believable. They want to create matter-of-fact miracles, but what they end up with is mostly just plain matter-of-fact.
Okay.
I mean, I can see that.
I can see it too. I can.
It's kind of similar to the first one, but
Yeah.
it has the negative spin instead of the positive spin on it.
And these aren't their full reviews, these are just the line
Snippets.
that's like advertised for it.
Yeah.
And then this one I thought was really funny because of the name of the person as well as what she said. So, Rita Kempley. I liked it because her name was Rita.
Yes.
And then she said, you can't expect perfection from muggles.
She has a bet.
Alright, and the critics' consensus, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone adapts its source material faithfully while considering the novel's overstuffed narrative into an involving and often downright exciting big-screen magical caper.
How is it overstuffed?
Yeah. They don't know what overstuffed is
It's
yet.
overstuffed for putting it into a film, is what is my take.
Yes, but I think the Harry Potter fandom appreciates that because
Yes.
they left very little out of the first movie.
Yes.
So
From a non-book standpoint, though, it's like for me
It's a
watching
lot.
it through a few times. Finally, it's like it's a lot to take in, and
Okay,
I'm still catching stuff like each time I watch said movies now. So I'm learning more as I go along.
Okay. I'd like to hear that.
let's constantly hear your non-book opinion.
I love it.
We like it.
Alright, and the money. The budget was $125 million. The amount that it made in the U.S. was $317,575,550. International, it made twice as much. $657,179,821 worldwide. Almost $1 billion, because I don't want to read that big ass number.
That's fair.
And opening weekend, it made almost $1 million at 90.
Almost 100 million.
Yeah, almost 100 million. 90,294,621. Its all-time domestic rank where it lands on the list as of when I wrote this for Rotten Tomatoes. Or not, the box office, money-wise. It is at number 64. And the highest...
Yeah.
The highest rank it's ever been was number 7 on February 3rd of 2002.
That's really not bad considering it's the very first one and it literally pretty much only attracted the people who had read the books and then anybody else who was like, oh, magic movie.
Yeah.
So number 7, that's pretty good for it being the first one out of the gate.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I did not read the Harry Potter books until I did not see the first film, but I did. The film was out after.
Mm-hmm.
So I read the books.
I think
I
I
was like,
was...
Right.
let's do this.
My brother had them, and I wasn't really allowed to read them because they were his. So I didn't get to read them till the third one was out.
Oh,
But I have read them multiple times.
of course.
Yeah.
Alright, so awards. It has 17 awards and was nominated for 3 Oscars, but did not win any Oscars. The Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films, it won the Saturn Award for Best Costumes. Yes. And then all of the films, the whole series, won a special award from the AFI Awards. The Harry Potter series marks the final triumphant chapter of a landmark series, 8 films that earned the trust of a generation who wished for the beloved books of J.K. Rowling to come to life on the silver screen. The collective wizardry of an epic ensemble gave us the gift of growing older with Harry, Ron, and Hermione as the magic of Hogwarts sprung from the films and into the hearts and minds of muggles around the world. So all of them have that award. So it's for all
That's
of
awesome.
them.
That's really cool.
The Art Directors Guild, all the big name people, producers and directors and all that, won the Contribution to Cinematic Imagery Award
Nice.
for all of the
For
films.
all of them.
The BMI Film and TV Awards. John Williams won the Music Award.
For an awesome score. Awesome score. Birthday twin. That's good.
The Bogey Awards in Germany, it won Titanium. Doesn't say for what. Broadcast Film Critics Association, Best Family Film Live Action. Costume Designers Guild Awards, Excellence in Period or Fantasy Films. And then another special award for 3 of the films, Chamber of Secrets, Prisoner of Azkaban, and Goblet of Fire. It won an Empire Award for Outstanding Contribution to British Cinema.
Oh, yes. Interesting.
Oh, this one's funny. Golden Schmooze Award?
Schmoes.
I can't tell what that says. Oh, yeah, that is...
Schmoes.
Okay. It's hard to read.
Golden Schmoes.
Most Overrated Movie of the Year.
Aw.
Oh, boo.
I just thought that one was funny.
That is funny. Didn't even know that was an awards ceremony, the Golden Schmoes.
Oh, wow.
Rupert Grint won Outstanding New Talent.
Hey.
Emma Watson won Best Performance in a Feature Film, Leading Young Actress.
Yeah.
She tied with Scarlett Johansson for An American Rhapsody.
Hey.
And Most Promising Young Newcomer, Rupert Grint again. So, initial thoughts.
First solids? That was years ago.
We're like, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't remember that far back. I mean, I liked it when I was younger. I don't remember what exactly I
I
thought.
remember when I first watched it, I was just drawn in immediately.
I agree, yeah. It was very different from the movies that were coming out around it. It definitely stood apart as far as, like, magical, fantastical, at least from what I remember. Like, I don't remember what else really came out, like, specifically around that time, but this is definitely, like, the only fantastic movie. I think, like, standout fantasy movie.
For me, it was 3 years ago. I know I'm late to the game.
You're very late.
Very late. But for me, there was I had a lot of opinions going into it, seeing it.
Well, yeah, you're friends with the 3 of us.
Yeah. I had you guys, I had my own opinions, and just stuff I've heard from people talking about the movie in general, and I enjoyed it. It's its own thing. It's not, like, there's nothing really, like, in that sort of category niche sort of thing. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and seeing it a second full time, I caught a lot of stuff that I missed the first time, and remembered most of the movie.
It made enough of an impression that you remember.
Yeah. But yeah, I liked it, and it was
Nice.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
That was your warning. If you haven't watched the film yet, what are you doing? And
First of all, what are you doing with your life? Second of all.
and so if you haven't watched it, get on that. And once you have watched it,
Come listen to
back.
this.
Yeah. So who wants to start with the beginning? Anything you want to talk about at the beginning?
Minerva McGonagall is a badass. Right out of the gate.
I love her transformation.
Yes.
It was nice because it was like a blatant display of magic right at the very start. And, I mean, we got to see the Deluminator with Dumbledore and everything, and that was kind of cool, but it was like, it's a magical object, and like she herself transformed from a cat into a person, and it was like, well, that was pretty freaking cool. What the heck?
Yeah. I like how they pulled a Batman and did it in the shadow so that you couldn't see, so they didn't have to pay for that.
And then here comes Hagrid.
And then here comes Hagrid.
On a bike.
On flying.
On a flying
bike.
Flying
There's
bike.
difference there. Not just like any motorcycle.
I think it's so funny how much dirt he has on his face.
Literally
Like,
so
that you
much.
just fly through.
We're like, where exactly were you flying? Like, did you fly through a tornado on the way here? What
That's
happened?
exactly what I was wondering. I was like, there's so much dirt on your face. Where did you get that from? Because it's not like he went by flue powder where you get dirty.
Right.
He was on a bike in the middle of the air.
I mean, I guess, though, if you think about it, it's not something, obviously, that you see in the movie, but doesn't he take Harry directly from the destruction to
Yeah. That's
his
true.
Oh, okay,
to the
that's
Dursley's
fair, yeah.
house? So he may have been. Maybe it's from that. I don't really know.
Through the,
That's a good point.
The rubble.
The rubble.
Rubble
It's
and
like,
all
yeah,
that.
they leave that out. So
Yep.
Yeah. I also really like the original Dumbledore and the original idea
Feel.
that you get of him.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty much exactly what you expect of a wizard. And you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's a wizard. You know, like there's no question about it.
yeah, Richard Harris did a really good job as
It's
Albus
like
Dumbledore.
my idea when I see a wizards, I think, or when I think of wizards, you think of Gandalf and Dumbledore.
Right? Like
Exactly.
long
Those are
beards
wizards.
and big robes.
And Merlin. And
And
Merlin.
Merlin,
yeah.
you know.
And Merlin.
Beards and hats and robes, pretty much, and that fit the mold
Yeah.
pretty well.
So they are dropping him off at the Dursleys, which are his muggle aunt and uncle.
It's his mom's sister.
Yep.
Yes. And
Her husband and son.
very questionable decision there.
Yeah.
You find out motives later, but right from the
Yeah.
start you're like, but what the heck are you doing, Dumbledore?
Even McGonagall says she's like, these are the worst kind of muggles.
Yeah, she
Right,
says
like,
she's been watching them all day.
Put them with the assholes.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, but why are we doing this though?
It's like, they're not very nice people.
So the next thing you see after them leaving him is Harry wakes up in a cupboard under the stairs. That's his bedroom.
Which is messed up.
You know, can't give the kids
Those
a
things are
decent room.
friggin' hot. When we were helping Bo move, we were down under there, and then Sean closed the door and wouldn't let us out, and it was really friggin' hot in there.
Right, like poor
But there
Harry.
was 4 of us in there though, so that made it even worse.
I mean, maybe just like one young boy would not be too bad in there, but 4 grown adults, I wouldn't recommend it. And then Dudley comes bashing down the stairs
Yep.
to wake up his cousin because they're going to go to the zoo for his birthday.
And all the dust falls on him.
All the dust falls down on Harry. Dudley runs around and shoves him back in as he tries to leave and closes the door again.
Yep.
Not very nice.
Like a brat. He's such a spoiled brat.
Yes.
That's exactly what he is.
This is
He's
what
a
I wrote
spoiled
that
brat.
down too.
Literally, like, the counting the presents that he gets for his birthday.
Through
Birthday.
yeah, 36.
last year!
Right? Last year at 37.
And they're like, we're gonna buy you 2 more presents when we go out. It's like,
Enablers.
it's like Harry's like, really?
He's
Come
literally
on.
like, I have hand-me-down presents from years and years ago. Like, I'm pretty sure I got a tissue for my birthday, so...
Like, I wear his hand-me-down
I got
clothes,
a
and he's
rock.
way bigger than me. So,
Right? Wearing 2 sizes too big on everything.
yeah, especially, I noticed that. He had to, like, fasten his, like, shorts with, like, a big old
With
belt.
like a big old belt, everything's all baggy.
Yeah.
Poor Harry. Poor Harry.
So then they go to outside and they're getting in the car and Mr. Dursley.
Dursley.
Yeah, really.
Mr. Vernon.
I was gonna call him Mr. Vernon. Mr. Dursley. Vernon
Mr.
Dursley. He threatens Harry, says, no funny business or any of that.
Well, about that.
He can't control it.
Yet.
So they go to the
Yes.
zoo and you go to the reptile house, and what I thought was cool is there's kids walking out and they look like Slytherins. They're all dressed up in
Foreshadowing
green.
for Slytherin, they're dressed in black and green
Yeah.
school uniforms,
Yes,
which your eye is immediately drawn to.
yes. Especially me being a Slytherin.
Especially
Yeah.
being a Slytherin, yes. You're like,
I love it when I find
Familiar.
Slytherins.
yes. It's the best finding people that are in your house outside of your group of friends. You're like, what house are you in? I ask people all the time when they come into work because I work at Hot Topic and they're looking at the Harry Potter stuff. I'm like, what's your house? I always have to know. And then we bond over it. And it's
Yes.
There's always a bunch of Gryffindor, so I don't have that problem.
great. Right?
I
There's
feel
a lot
like
of
people
you.
that haven't even taken the test or know much anything about Harry Potter just say they're Gryffindor because that's the one house
That's
that they
the
for
one
sure
that-
know.
They're like, well, Harry Potter's a Gryffindor, so I want to be a Gryffindor.
That wasn't my thing. I decided, I looked at all the houses and like, Gryffindor fits me. It does.
It does.
It really
That's
does.
true.
It fits.
If you haven't taken the test on Pottermore, we definitely recommend it. Even
Yes.
if you don't even really like Harry Potter that much, you
Like
should
me.
still know in case someone decides to ask you one day.
Like we do live in the world where that
I
is a
do now.
question.
You
Yes.
do know.
It's an important question in today's society. What is your Hogwarts house? Anyway,
So
we're
they are in the
at the zoo.
zoo, and Harry is looking at the snake, and they're all four looking at the snake.
And the snake is sleeping.
Not
and
doing
it's-
nothing.
And it's boring, so the Dursleys walk away.
Yep, and Harry starts talking to it. And I don't subscribe to this theory, but there are people that do believe that is Nagini.
I don't
Which is
believe that
full of
either.
it, because that's not right.
I like the idea because, yes, if you're well versed in Harry Potter lore, Nagini is a giant snake that is friends with He Who Must Not Be Named, and you meet her later. And so this giant snake that Harry encounters at the zoo, they like to think that that's the same one, and
It is not.
it's not, though.
I would say it's male, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a
think
boy
it
snake
is a
anyway.
male.
Yeah.
So,
Nagini's a what? The girl.
Nagini's a girl, so you're all wrong.
No, wrong.
All
If
right.
you think that, you're wrong.
sorry to burst your
Sorry,
bubble there.
yeah.
So, without knowing it, Harry is speaking parcel tongue to this snake.
And the snake is understanding him and nodding along, and he's just chatting with
Yep.
this snake.
And Dudley comes over because he's excited that the snake's actually moving. And he shoves Harry out of the way. Harry gets all mad and accidentally makes the glass vanish.
Accidentally. Air quotes there.
Air quotes. I mean, he wished that it would happen. He did not know that it was going to actually happen, to be fair.
That's
So,
right.
Wish you would fall
Air
in.
it's like accidentally on purpose.
Whoops.
And so then Dudley freaks out and wibbles and wobbles and falls into the tank with the snake.
Yeah.
Immediate panic. The snake leaves, and he's like, "Thanks."
Leaves.
Because the snake has to end in an S.
Yes, because
Six.
S's are important to snakes.
And
And
then
so
they
the snake
go-
leaves, and he's like, "Thanks for letting me out, man. Bye." And Dudley goes to get out of the little snake enclosure, and the glass is back,
Yeah.
and he can't leave.
And guess who's
Well,
laughing?
he doesn't think he can leave, but there's a door
Well, obviously.
that he can get out of. He's just stupid.
For shock, you're like, oh wait, I can't get out. There's this mirror. There's this glass right in front of me. For
And
shock,
then the
I would,
Dursleys
like,
come over and
Touch it
Panic.
to see if it was there, and then I'd be like, oh, well, that sucks. And then turn around and go to the door.
yes, well,
But you're smarter than Dudley.
A lot of people are smart.
Dudley's not a Ravenclaw either, guys.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Well, according to the clothes he's wearing later, later on in the week, Dudley is a Gryffindor because he is wearing Gryffindor
He's wearing
colors.
the Smelting's outfit is
Yes.
like mustard yellow and crimson red.
Yes.
So,
I may associate with that.
sorry, fam.
When he,
He's the bad side of Gryffindor.
this is when
He
There's
he,
bad side.
He's the bullheaded side of Gryffindor.
and this is when Harry gets his first Hogwarts letter.
And like the idiot that he is,
There
he
you
takes
go.
it with him to breakfast. And is like, look at this thing that came for me. And the Dursley's like, excuse me? You got what in the mail? That's not for you. Nobody
People-
cares about you.
It's like, people know you? What is this?
You exist?
Exactly.
Right, pretty much. So they take it from him and he's not allowed to have it.
And Vernon won't let him have any.
And they just keep piling up and piling up and more owls
Hundreds and
and
hundreds.
of letters to the point where they're flooding the house and
Through the chimney.
through the chimney and
No
through the front
post on
door.
Sundays.
No post on
No
Sundays
post on
is
Sundays.
bullshit for
Owls.
the owl delivery system. They deliver every day, no matter what.
And Amazon
24/7. Amazon owls.
They are Amazon owls.
Sunday delivery from the Amazon owls. Yeah, he
So-
got no post on Sundays, which is forever quotable, and that actually really helped me remember the fact that mail does not come on Sundays. So,
Same.
good job, Vernon, for teaching everybody that the mail does not come. Especially for, because we're kids, we don't know that yet.
I'm like, thank you. We
no
learned
post on
something.
Sundays.
Yep.
Totally makes sense.
And then they move because
Yeah, they literally pack up and leave.
Vernon doesn't want all these letters. He's like, we're just gonna go somewhere that they can't find us, where that doesn't really exist because owls can
'Cause
find you
wizards.
wherever. Because it's
Because they're magic.
Magic.
Because magic. That's going to be the explanation for everything from this point forward. It's
Yes.
because magic. Even when they go to a rock out in the middle of the sea, they still
Magic.
are found.
Yep.
Because magic.
And so you see Harry drawing himself a birthday cake because he doesn't get a real birthday.
The saddest birthday scene ever, you guys. Like, he draws himself a birthday cake in the dust on the floor with 11 candles and says, "Happy birthday, Harry," and blows them out. Like, what the actual...
You're like, my heart!
No,
No, not that one. Okay.
Literally.
Harry can spell his own name.
Okay.
Yes, Harry can spell his name.
And,
Oh, okay, that one. Okay, I get it.
And, like, right after he blows out his imaginary dirt candles, there comes, like, a big, huge figure breaking down the door. And he walks in, and it's
It's Hagrid.
Hagrid.
Yay.
Rubius Hagrid. Who
Rubius Hagrid.
dropped him off at the Dursleys in the beginning.
He's a half giant, so
You didn't
he's...
find that out till later, though.
Yeah.
Okay, but he's huge,
Book
is my
4.
point.
But
Movie
still,
4, book 4.
you can...
Yes.
You can guess it.
Yeah.
There's something going on there because he's like 12 feet tall, so...
Yeah. And he's telling Harry that he's a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Classic line.
And
And he doesn't.
Vernon shoots trying to shoot a gun at him, but
He says,
But
"Dry
he's
up, Dursley, you great prune," and
Yeah.
bends the front of the gun.
Which may or may not have worked, in theory, in actual life. But
You're
it's,
like,
it's magic.
because magic!
Because magic.
magic.
We literally told Eric, we're like, Eric, it's magic. Just
No.
He's like,
leave
"That
it."
wouldn't happen. It doesn't matter. It's magic."
Facts.
Nope.
We're like,
Facts went out the window with the rest of the letters that Harry tried to receive.
Yeah.
So
And
Hagrid brought him a cake.
yes. And birthday and happy were spelled wrong.
That's where I was thinking. I was
Yes,
thinking ahead.
yeah, with 2 E's on happy birthday,
Yes.
Phonetically.
phonetically spelled.
And
Me.
A for
Yeah.
effort for Hagrid and the adorable pink birthday cake, which matches his pink umbrella.
yep.
Pink umbrella.
Pink umbrella magic.
And you don't really find out till later, but Hagrid isn't really supposed to do magic at all.
Which is why he has an umbrella and not a wand.
Yes.
There's pieces of his wand are in his umbrella.
But we find that out later.
Yeah.
It's
Later.
okay.
Later.
For current information's sake,
Yeah.
there's pieces of magical wand inside Hagrid's umbrella, so
Yes.
he can do small little bits of magic without getting in trouble.
You'll find out why
Later.
Yes.
later.
And so he takes Harry with him. They leave and go to the Leaky Cauldron in London. That's in London.
That's in London.
That is another.
I think it's awesome too because that's one of the first instances of like background magic that you get to see like in the film, where you're like, if you're not paying attention to the scenery around the characters, then you miss it because
Yeah.
they're walking up to the Leaky Cauldron and the sign is black right until they get to the door, and then it turns into a cauldron and it has the title of the inn on the front
Yeah.
of it, and if you're not watching, you miss it, and I think it's really cool.
See, that's one thing I caught.
Yeah.
Not noticing it before.
Oh, you didn't notice it the
No,
first time?
and then this time it's
See?
like, oh,
See,
that's
because you're a
that.
muggle before, and now
Yeah.
you're just
I'm
getting
picking
magic.
up on it.
Picking up. It's okay, we're getting there. It's very
Proud
good.
of you.
And so he takes him in there, and everybody's greeting him like he's the best person they've ever met. Like, oh my god, I need to shake hands with you.
He has no idea what's happening.
He's super confused.
Bless my soul,
But
it's
who
Harry
am I?
Potter.
Yep.
Who are you? Who am I?
Who am I? Why do you know who I am?
It's like, why are these people coming up and shaking my hands? I don't know
Yes.
what's going on.
And so he meets everybody, and then they go out back to go to Diagon Alley, which is basically the wizard's school supply shop.
Right?
And like
One of the
supply
few,
shop for like everything, actually.
Yeah, full
Yeah.
wizard shopping center, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
It's like 16th Street Mall in Denver.
There we go.
But
Yes,
all
that.
magic.
Everything.
All magic,
Just
everything.
magic.
I really liked this scene cinematically because there's so much going on, and literally the look on Harry's face is the look on all of our faces when we get to see Diagon Alley for the first time, because there's brooms and candy and magic toys and
Magic
wand shops
animals.
and magic animals, and everybody's dressed all crazy, and it's just like, what did I
And
just
don't
walk
forget-
into?
Books about magic.
And books about magic.
I can be. It can be like a little overwhelming. I always think.
Yes.
All sorts of little details.
It actually kind of
So
is,
many
because
little
when you
details.
go to actual Harry Potter world in either
California
or Florida, and there's also one, I haven't been there, but there's one in London as well. You go walk there, and it's just so much to take in. It's like everywhere you walk, somebody's got a Harry Potter shirt on or Harry Potter robes on, because you can buy them there.
Mm-hmm.
And every window you look in, there's just something that you don't normally see. Like some kind of weird instrument, some kind of weird animal.
Right, like something to completely immerse you in the experience.
And the way that they have that area of the park shaped, you cannot see outside. You can't see
Like
anything.
you can't see inside from the outside, and you can't see outside from the inside, so it's like a totally different realm.
And that's how I imagined it would actually be walking into the real Diagon Alley.
Which is awesome.
So they go to the Wizarding Bank, Gringotts.
Which I've always been kind of concerned about Gringotts, because that place is tilting like a motherfucker. And I'm like, there is so much gold in this building, and this looks like it's gonna collapse.
But
like,
the gold is underneath.
I know it's underneath, but still, like, you're wizards. You would think that they could just set it up right the first time and,
that's why
or
it's,
fix it.
That's why it's not falling over. It's because they're wizards. It's holding itself up.
Magic.
I suppose.
Magic.
I figured it could be straight. I figured they could make a straight building, but I guess not.
They don't want a straight building.
I guess not.
No.
It's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It looks better that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Just leave it. It's fine.
So they go
You get to
and
see goblins for the
Yep.
first time.
get to see the
Creepy little
goblins.
creatures. Greedy bastards.
And
Weird.
they go to
Not
two different
weird.
vaults. One for Harry.
Vault
Which
687.
Key, please.
Keep these.
Lamp, please.
Lamp, please.
So they go in there, and Harry has a ton of money, and Hagrid's like, "What? You didn't think your parents would leave you with nothing, did you?" And he's just like staring at it, and there's tons
it's
of
come
money
from
in
nothing. Like, he's never had anything his whole life, especially that was like just his.
there. Yeah.
Now he has a whole vault full of money from his parents, and it's just awesome because he's, somebody was thinking about him.
Yep. And then they go to vault 713. Stand back.
Stand back. Fancy magic unlocky door.
And they go in there, and Hagrid goes in there, grabs this little tiny package, and then puts it in a pocket and leaves.
And it's a
Harry
secret.
gets no explanation as to what it is.
He's like, can't tell you. Top secret.
Hogwarts. Official Hogwarts business.
Yes,
Exactly.
it's Hogwarts business. Then they go back outside and start getting Harry's stuff for school. So, like his books and his robes
And his cauldron and all that.
and his wand. He goes in.
It's all
We get to go to Ollivanders.
And let me tell you, that guy has the best memory in the world.
Literally, I was like, Ollivander knows all of the things. Like,
Yes.
he even knows people when they walk in. I'm like, is Ollivander like a seer? Does he have seer blood in his family?
And I had two things that I thought of during this scene. The first one was him having Harry try out all the different wands reminded me of trying out all the instruments.
Kind
to find
of,
out
yeah,
what instrument
what
to play.
suits you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, that just reminds me
You
of that.
never did that?
We
No.
got to pick 4 that we could try the mouthpiece, and so we would try the mouthpiece, and if we could make a noise on it, that would be the instrument that we would end up playing.
That's interesting.
I never did that when I was in school. I knew I automatically wanted to play flute, so I didn't know that.
Huh. We had something like that at my school. I went to a super small school, and so when it came time for beginning band, it was at like a back to school night kind of thing, and
that makes
the band
sense.
teacher at the time had like one of every instrument laid out for
Yeah.
all of the new kids that were interested in it, so you could go up to the table and like there was like sanitizer and stuff, and you could try each instrument and see which one you liked the
Yeah.
best. And so I'm with Kat on that one.
And then when he told Harry that the wand that picked him was related to the wand that gave him his scar, he said that it belonged to he who must not be named. And what I was thinking is, when he gave him that wand, he was Tom Riddle. So why wouldn't he refer to him as Tom Riddle?
Yeah, I guess maybe just because it became such a disastrous situation that he turned into this person that everybody feared so much, and that was just like what stuck. Like, originally he was Tom,
Yeah.
but after all the terrible stuff and the war and everything, it was like he turned into a whole nother entity completely, and so that was...
I would just think that he would think of him, like, even with all of that, just think of
You
him
would
as
think.
the boy that he gave that wand to.
I agree, that's a really good point.
I was just
to make.
thinking of it, I was like, well, why... This is literally, as many times as I've read the books and as many times as I've seen the movies, that's literally the first time I've ever thought of that.
I feel like it might be like a fear thing, because
That's what I
like
was thinking.
Dumbledore refers to him as Tom
Yeah.
a lot, and that's because he's never really like respected him, I guess. Like, that sounds really shitty, but like he still sees him as his student and everything, and you know, for Ollivander maybe the fear was just too much and he ended up caving and giving into that.
Maybe, and me just thinking, as later in the movie, since in the second movie.
Second one.
Later on.
Later on.
Chamber.
His name is his name, because it's an anagram for it.
Yes.
So maybe that was part of it.
Yeah, maybe because we just didn't know that was who it was first. Like, that wouldn't have made sense, and so then it allowed for the story of Chamber to kind of develop a little bit more, because if we already knew who Tom Riddle was, then...
Yeah.
Just from a writing standpoint,
I mean, even
guess.
if they would have named dropped him as Tom Riddle instead of his whole...
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it would have been more of a shock if they had had it as Tom Riddle
Yeah.
in that scene rather than He Who Must Not Be Named, because you're like, well, who's Tom Riddle? Like, how did Tom Riddle give him that scar? I thought it was this guy. And then later on in the next book/movie, you learn who Tom Riddle actually is.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been a bigger build up to it.
Well, psychopath motherfucker.
Alright, so
Moving
then
forward.
Hagrid's knocking on the window and holding up an owl.
And we
he
meet
says,
Hedwig!
Happy birthday, Harry! And he has Hedwig for him.
Harry
There's
gets
his-
an owl to take to Hogwarts.
Yep.
Pretty owl.
Real quick, before we go forward, does everybody know what wands they have? Because my wand has a phoenix feather like Harry Potter's.
I do not. I have the Elder
You don't
Wand
know?
over there.
You don't know what yours is from Pottermore?
I have the Elder Wand.
I think mine's a unicorn.
That's not what I asked you.
Unicorn.
Unicorn.
I think so.
Yay.
Unicorn, I think I'm mahogany? Yeah.
That is mahogany!
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, remember?
No.
I was just curious.
Which is kind of funny, because like, I like mahogany on guitars. And I've always thought like guitars pick the people too, for me as not the Harry Potter person, but I've always kind of thought that.
Back to the instrument thing we were
Yeah.
talking about,
Yeah.
you know, like, the instrument chooses the musician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like, and I was like, that's kind of funny that kind of came across that way. I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I don't remember. Because I know I did, because that's like right at the beginning of Pottermore, you do all that.
Mhm.
I just don't remember what it is.
Yeah, and then they go in, so he has Hedwig now, and then they go to get some grub before they continue on their journey, and Harry's like, what the actual hell is going on, though? Like, why does everybody know me? Why is everybody talking about this He Who Must Not Be Named whoever? And he asks Hagrid what his name is, and so Hagrid's like, Voldemort, and Harry's like, Voldemort? Like, shut the fuck up, Harry, what are you doing in the middle of the pod? Like, shh. He's like, Christ,
And
shut
so
up.
he goes into explaining what happened. And Sean asked me this question, and I was actually kind of like, I don't know how to answer this. Like,
Okay.
this is a really like good question. Coming from someone who makes fun of Harry Potter. But he likes Harry Potter, but he just makes fun of it.
That's okay.
So, in the scene where you see Voldemort coming and killing Harry's parents, Sean asked, where are their wands and why didn't they have them? And I told him, I was like, well, they're at home, they don't need them. And then he said, but the Weasleys have their wands on them while they're at home. I was like,
I think what it was, because I've had this kind of thought process before, and the fact is that this is going to be hard to do because you don't know a lot of this information yet, but
I know, so I was
the
gonna say,
Potters
like-
are in hiding, and there's a special charm on their house that prevents anybody from finding it unless a certain person says where it is.
yeah.
And so they figure they're so well hidden, and they thought that their secret keeper would never give them up, so why would they bother having their wands on them if they never leave the house? Like, they're just at home. They're just hanging out, and they didn't have their wands, and I mean, obviously that was a gigantic mistake, but...
Stupid
Yeah,
rat.
but he just like kept asking me, and like anytime I would say that, he's like, but the Weasleys have them, but the Weasleys have them. I'm like, I don't know!
I really think that's what it boils down to, is the fact that they never leave their house because it's under a protection spell,
Yeah.
and so they never thought that Voldemort would walk in the front door like he did.
Yeah.
Like, oops.
Yeah,
should've
well,
had that.
shit.
That's it. That's a good answer.
They probably had an instant of regret before they died, but, you know, it's
Yeah.
alright.
Oh,
wow.
Lily.
So then we go, and they're heading towards platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross.
King's Cross Station.
Yeah, King's Cross.
Which I asked Sean, and he said that is a real.
It's a real place.
Real
It's
place.
a real
It
station.
I didn't know. Like, I thought they made it up. A lot of places they just make it up. So
Yeah.
There's a thing there now that there's a picture, like you get, there's like
Yeah,
a
they have it
Yeah.
at the
Like,
actual
the-
platform and you
going
can take
through,
pictures.
like it's going through the wall. It's kind
It's
of
on
cool.
my bucket list.
And so he's trying. Hagrid leaves them because he has to go.
He's like, here's your ticket, okay, thanks, bye.
He's like, wait.
And he's like, how do I get to this? This doesn't exist. And so then he hears a lady calling.
He tries to
Saying-
ask someone for help first.
Oh, yeah,
He asks
the-
like the train station attendant.
Yeah.
He's like, where can I find platform 9 3/4? And he's like, platform 9 3/4. Think you're being funny, do ya? Doesn't even take him seriously. So this 11-year-old kid is standing by himself in the middle of a train station he's never been to, trying to find a platform that doesn't exist. Like, what the hell do I do now?
And then he hears a lady talking about muggles. She's saying that it's all filled with
Packed
muggles
with muggles.
every year. And he goes, muggles, and starts following them.
Like, I really hope these people are wizards.
He's like, I know that word. Let me follow them.
That sounds like a wizard word.
And
me.
so you see all of them, and he talks to them and asks them if they can help him, pretty much.
Get onto the platform.
Yeah.
He watches them run at this wall at full speed and then completely disappear and like, what am I watching right now?
Yeah.
Alright, run into a brick wall.
Like
Seems
this,
legit.
yeah, and she's like, just run at the wall
Best to do it at a bit of
Yes.
best to do it at a bit of a run if
if
you're
you're
nervous.
nervous. Like,
The
so
one
you want
thing
me
I
to-
want to know is Fred and George went. George did not have an animal. Percy had an animal. Fred had an animal. But you could not see what the animal was. You just saw the cage. So what animal?
we want to
did
know what
he
animal he
have?
had.
I want to know what the
Maybe
animal
a
is.
snake.
No, a snake would have gotten out of those bars because it was a
You
same
can't have
type
a snake.
There was the same type of cage that Ron had for
Oh, okay.
Scabbers.
There's also a specific list that they don't tell you about in the movie, but there's a list of approved animals
a
for
cat,
Hogwarts.
a toad, an
Or an
owl.
Yeah.
And then there's exceptions made for others, like Ron with
Like
his
with
rat.
Scabbers, yeah. But yeah, that's like because you can have an owl, a cat, or a toad.
Yep.
So
Doesn't like Ron say in the second movie or the third movie about Scabbers that Scabbers used to be Percy's
rat. Yes.
Percy's rat, yeah.
yeah.
So, and Percy may have taken him to Hogwarts and stuff already before that was one of those random animals. But yeah, a snake is not an approved animal.
And later on in the movies, there's lots of people that have not approved animals.
Yeah, they kind of loosen up that a little bit.
Just a
Um,
bit.
But yeah, so we're curious about Fred's animal.
Yeah, I
he
wanna
had a
know.
cage with, we don't know.
This is the first time I noticed that he actually had a cage. Like, even now, I'm noticing things.
Also, the baby faces on everybody is adorable. The twins
Yes.
and little teeny tiny Ginny that has one little line in the whole movie, and she's so cute.
Can
All
I
she
just
says
say
is,
that
"Good
she's
luck."
awkward even in there after meeting her at Denver Comic Con?
Yeah.
Like-
Bonnie Wright is an awkward person. I got to meet her at Comic Con this past go around, and she's a wonderful person. But she's definitely just kind of like, yeah, I'm a person. Like she doesn't.
I'm a person.
She's not like a super confident celebrity or anything. She's just kind of like, yeah, I am
She-
here.
And you could see that come out in that one scene in the one line.
Yeah.
That is her personality,
Like to a T.
which is awesome.
And then they get on the train.
Yeah, he makes it through the tunnel in one piece. Cinematically, I really liked, if you notice when Harry's coming through the wall, it makes it look like a tunnel.
Yeah, it does.
Like the wall is like extended. He doesn't just like go straight through like a 1 foot wall. Like it's like a whole process. And right before there's like a person that walks behind him, right as he comes out, you can kind of see like a tunnel behind him, and then a person walks behind him, and then it's a brick wall. And
Yeah.
it's just flat. And so I thought that was cool that they made it seem like they extended it. They pulled it out, and that looked cool.
Yeah.
Hogwarts Express, yay!
And so they're on the train, and he's talking to Ron, and they're getting to know each other. And Ron finds out that it's Harry Potter that he's sitting with.
Ron didn't
And he's
watch
like,
his damn
"Do you
face
have
today."
the?
Nope.
Do you have the?" And he's like, "Oh yeah," and lifts up his hair.
Wicked.
Which is funny when his hair is like sitting the way it normally
Yeah,
does.
with the little-
It's perfectly parted for his scar.
Yeah. They're like, this is where we're gonna put it.
Yep.
Well, and that was something like reading the books. I always pictured the scar like right smack dab in the middle of his forehead. Like
Yeah.
I never. And then we got to the movies and it was like off to the side, and I always thought it was interesting because they probably just played to the part in his hair, the natural part. And they're
Yeah.
like, we're gonna put it right there so you can see it.
There.
Yep.
Right there.
And so the trolley with all the treats come by, and Ron's good. He has his snacks. But Harry's like, we'll take the lot, and pulls out a pocket full of gold. And
Classic
Ron just,
money.
like, his eyes widen.
They're like little play coins, though. Like
They are.
That's one of those things you can tell it's the very first movie because those were plastic. Like
Yes.
that is like gold treasure from pretending to be pirates.
Yay, prop
It's okay.
department.
It's okay. We had to spend it on CGI, so it's all right.
But Ron
Yeah, we buy all the
widens
candies.
his eyes like he's never seen that much gold in his life. And you
Harry
do
just
find
pulls it out
out
of his pocket.
later that the Weasleys are not rich wizards.
Yeah, you haven't really gotten that impression quite yet up to this point. It was mostly just like there's a lot of them, and they packed snacks ahead of time. Like you don't really get that vibe yet. So Ron's just like, holy shit, this guy just pulled so much money out of his pocket. Like
Yeah.
Harry Potter's rich, and he has no idea that Harry just came across that money like that day.
Yeah.
Or the day before. Which, by the way, that timeline is kind of skewed because the Hogwarts Express leaves at 11 a.m. So did they do all that shopping the day that he was supposed to leave and then throw him at the Hogwarts Express? Like, Kim, like, when does Diagon
I think
open?
it might have been the next day.
Like-
because they do have a meal in the evening.
Maybe
and that
they
was,
stayed
like,
overnight and
yeah.
they just didn't...
That's a movie. The book's different.
Yeah, the book is much different.
but we'll get there.
It's fine. Anyway, continuing.
So they arrive at Hogwarts, and Hagrid's like, first year's this way. And they all go get on
No,
boats.
you missed... We
What did I miss?
missed meeting Hermione.
Oh, yeah, I didn't write that down.
Hermione Jean Granger. Come on.
Is an important character.
Go for it, then.
Anyway, so they have all their candy, and Ron introduces Harry to Scabbers, who we should have probably just thrown out the window at that point, but it's
Yes.
fine.
That's
Just
fair.
throw Scabbers out of the train. And so then we get to meet Hermione Jean Granger for the first time. She shows up looking for a toad. A boy named Neville has lost one.
Yes.
And she's like, holy cricket, you're Harry Potter! And then she introduces herself, and then she asks who Ron is. And he answers her with a mouthful of food, and she's like, pleasure. Like, not impressed with Ron Weasley and his terrible manners. And then she comes in and shows off her magic. She's already dressed in her robes, and she comes in and fixes Harry's glasses. And then she moms them, and then she leaves.
Yeah. I love her.
Just like, oh, well, alright, this is this character, and
Yeah.
she's very pushy and forward and know-it-all-y.
I just feel like she just does that, that's just how she is first. Then she
Yeah.
relaxes a bit.
She does relax a little bit, and I think a lot of it, and we'll probably get into this more later, but Hermione is a Muggle-born, and so she's trying to prove herself because she comes from a family that has no magical lineage, and she found out of the blue that all the stuff she could do when she was little is not a fluke, it's not crazy, she's not losing her mind, she has all these magical powers, and so she learns as much as she possibly can to prove herself and be like, no, I am a witch and I belong here, and I am smart, and it's just a little overboard at first, but it's okay. You grow to love her.
I mean, she does say the line later.
And her poofy
She
hair.
does.
Oh,
And poofy hair. Okay, now we got to
Now we're
Hogsmeade. Now we can go.
we're good.
My bad.
Now we're getting off the train.
So they're getting off the train, and Hagrid's saying, first year's this way, and Ron is shocked that there's that big of a man standing in front of them.
And Harry's just like, hey, Hagrid.
Hey, what's
And Ron's like, whoa. What's up, dude?
He's literally like 4 children tall.
Yeah. So they get
Yeah.
on the boats, taking them across the lake to Hogwarts.
You get to see Hogwarts for the first time,
Yes.
and that fantastic silhouette on the lake, and it's awesome.
Yes,
Yes.
it's great.
It's breathtaking.
Cue the amazing John Williams score. The original movie's score is the best one.
Yes.
Like,
Exactly.
I love all of the adaptations they make throughout the series, but those original scores and
theme.
original pieces, Hedwig's theme, when you hear it at the very beginning of the movie, like, it's just perfect, and that's what sticks. And so they get to go in little boats all the way across the lake, and then that's what the first years get to do.
Yep.
That's just the first years. Everybody else takes carriages up to the castle. But just the first years go on the boats, so it's this big, magnificent reveal. then they get there, and they go upstairs, and they go inside, and they get to meet Professor McGonagall for the first time in all of her badassery.
Oh.
And it's awesome, and she's no nonsense, and
the music when they're walking up and she kind of comes around the corner, kind of makes it seem like she's almost evil.
Yes. Yeah, it kind of gives like this ominous vibe, just a smidgen.
I didn't get that, but
You didn't get that vibe?
I did not, because I don't know why it reminded me of like kind of a.
Is it just more
It
like
reminded
mysterious for
me
you?
mysterious, and it reminded me of like how she has her cat form. So that's what
Yeah,
it
it's kind of
reminded
like
me of.
feline almost.
It sounds feline to me.
Yeah,
it does.
If it can sound like
I can see
feline,
that.
then yeah.
That's me.
And so then she tells all the little firsties about the ickle firsties. I miss Peeves, guys. But she tells them all about the houses they're about to be sorted into, and she leaves after that, and we get to meet Draco Malfoy and his helmet of hair for the first time.
And as Sean says, like I said, he loves to make fun of it. He said that Harry was the asshole and didn't shake his hand. That's all that Draco wanted was a handshake. I was like, well, he did kind of insult Ron first.
Right, like he was kind of a dick first and then asked for a handshake, and it's like, no, bro, I'm not going to shake your hand after that.
So yeah, he basically says that Ron is not of good magical blood.
Yeah.
That there's good magical blood and bad magical blood, and that Malfoy himself
Is the best there is.
yes, and the Weasleys are not. They're like dirt in the magical community,
Yeah.
according to the Malfoy family. Which you get that vibe from all of them throughout all of the films.
Yeah, and so he offers him his hand, and Harry's like, I think I can tell the bad sort for myself, thanks,
Yep.
and passes on that. And that's something really interesting. I like to read the fan fiction of Harry Potter a lot, and like, because the wizarding world has become such a gigantic,
Oh yeah.
massive thing, there's so much fan fiction that you can read, and there's a lot of them that are based off of that moment in the books, and what if Harry had shaken Draco's hand instead? How different the entire storyline would have been from that one single point in time. And so it's just interesting to think about, and everybody's minds kind of take off on a whole different path, but that was definitely a pivot point, because he made himself an enemy right at that second.
Yeah.
Especially in Draco's mind, because he's like, he's
Well, yeah.
used to getting what he wants and being the best, and Harry
it's,
Potter was like, no.
Because that book, according to Draco, is Draco Malfoy and the rejected handshake.
Yes.
I've always thought of meeting Draco for the first time, like for sports fans, like meeting a Yankees fan or meeting a Patriots fan sort of thing.
He is such a
Because I've
Patriots
always
fan.
thought of Draco Malfoy as Draco fucking Malfoy.
Draco
like
fucking Malfoy. is
Bobby fucking Dent. And Tom fucking Brady.
Yes. Yes. So, we just made enemies with Draco Malfoy, and then we get to go
into
inside to the Great Hall.
the Great Hall.
Another nice magical moment for
Yes.
the audience to see.
The
And
CGI on that ceiling is great.
it's really good, especially for its time, and you get to see all the floating candles, and you get to see outside, which Hermione loves to point out that it's not really outside, it's just enchanted to look like that. And she read about it in a book.
Hogwarts.
Thanks, Hermione.
A history.
A history, her favorite of all of the books, Hogwarts: A History.
She references it all the time in the
Yes.
book.
There's a lot to learn in that book, you guys.
Apparently.
And so they go up and they do the sorting. And
Also, time out. I wish we could have heard the Sorting Hat song.
yes,
In the book, the Sorting Hat performs like a poem/song for the whole Great Hall, and he does it every year. And they don't do it in
They
the
never
movies.
do it.
They never do the song, and I'm so sad because it tells you about the houses and tells
Hogwarts.
about Hogwarts and the different qualities of each house, and it's really informative. And then you don't even know
Yeah.
all these moviegoers have no idea that
Like Erik.
like Erik, usually in the book it lays it out for you what each house kind of is about, and you don't get to know that till later.
if we hadn't told Erik what being a Hufflepuff meant, he would not know what it
He
meant.
would literally have no idea.
He'd just be like, "Oh, cool, I'm a Hufflepuff." Okay,
You're like, okay.
You do fit Hufflepuff so
He's
well.
such a Hufflepuff.
You're
you
such
guys.
a puff.
Such a puff, and we love it.
Hufflepuff and proud.
Yes.
That's what I always say.
But anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Was I was sad we never get to hear the song.
Also, a
Yes.
question for me: it's supposed to be? Is it in alphabetical order or is
It's
it?
supposed
It's
to be
supposed to be
an
in alphabetical. Okay, that's
Yes,
what I
and
thought.
the movie was not in alphabetical
And I was just
order.
like, we're just gonna go with Harry Potter first. Okay.
Hermione.
Well,
Granger
Hermione
was
goes
first.
first.
Hermione goes first, but
And she's like freaking out.
yeah.
Yeah, in the book, it's supposed to be the students go in alphabetical order
Hannah
to get
Abbott
sorted.
goes first.
Yeah.
Yes.
She gets sorted in Hufflepuff, right?
Hannah Abbott.
Or is she
Is-
Gryffindor?
No, she's
Right.
not.
I think
Susan
she's
Bones is Hufflepuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Susan
Hannah
Bones
Abbott
is
is-
Hufflepuff.
Okay.
I think
Hannah
Hannah
Abbott is
is a
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor. Yeah.
I always forget.
I don't know. I get them mixed up.
One
I
thing
don't
I
know
noticed a couple of times throughout the movie is Professor Quirrell, who we've already met in
why. We met
the
him in the Leaky
Cauldron.
Cauldron. Yeah. Harry Potter.
He's got a stutter.
He's got a bit of a stutter, guys.
He wears a turban, and you find out later that he's bald, but there's times when you can see his hair. There's
Yes.
multiple times
Yes.
in the film you can
I've
see
always
his hair.
thought that. Even from like the pictures I've seen of the movie, I've always
I
thought that,
haven't
and
noticed.
it's like, but I know he's supposed to be bald. What the crap?
Yeah.
It's okay, guys. It's the first movie.
No.
Give him a break.
So I was like, okay.
Harry and Ron and Hermione all get sorted into Gryffindor.
Gryffindor.
Harry is practically begging not to be put in Slytherin.
Because he heard Slytherins were all the bad guys.
Whereas
so.
me, I was practically begging to be put in Slytherin.
I said, hell no.
And it's one of those things, like, after all the movies are said and done and everything, we learn about all these characters and they actually grow into more than just their house qualities. It's like, there's good things in every single house, and so the stigma against Slytherin kind of sucks, honestly.
I'm a Gryffindor.
Ron says
sorry.
Ron says it. There's not a witch or wizard that went bad that wasn't in Slytherin.
There's exceptions, as you find
Oh,
out
there
later in the
absolutely are,
series.
but
Isn't there a fan theory, or is it kind of just a theory in general, where they were all could have been in the other
separate
three houses?
Yes.
Yes,
So
'cause-
there's a theory that pretty much it boils down to the fact that you choose to be in Gryffindor because
Yes.
Harry has Slytherin qualities, Ron has Hufflepuff qualities, and
Yes.
Hermione has Ravenclaw qualities, but they all chose Gryffindor, and that was why they were put in Gryffindor. That's where they wanted to be. That was like their personal goal made the decision for them.
Whereas Neville is just a straight Gryffindor.
Like, he's just a Gryffindor, man.
Like, he does not belong in any other house at all. Neville is a Gryffindor.
He was almost a hat
Absolutely.
stall. Yeah.
Yeah, he almost hat stalled, which has only happened.
Not
Has
very
it
many.
never happened?
I think only a few times.
Or there was a couple times where it took like forever before the hat made a decision.
Yeah.
And
Also, Dumbledore explaining the rules to all of the first years and saying what they can and can't do. Like, you can't
don't
go
want
to
to die.
Yeah, you don't want to
So
die a most
horrible.
painful death. And Harry's over here like, what the fuck kind of school is this? What do you mean a painful death? I am 11. Like, so I just thought that was amusing. That he's just like, there's a magical forest that you can't go into, and there's a third floor that you shouldn't attend unless you want to die. In which case, go ahead. Like, what?
Harry's like, what the hell's
This
going
is a
on?
school.
I don't know
Like,
who-
what do you mean?
I don't know who got sorted into Gryffindor at the time. I think it was Harry, but did anybody notice the Dumbledore awkward clap with like
Oh, the
back
awkward
of,
clap.
back
It
of
was
his hand?
for that was for
Or was it for Draco?
Hermione, right at the
the
beginning,
very
wasn't
first
it?
one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he awkward claps on the back of his hands. Like,
Is there a reason for that, or just he's just awkward? As...
he's just Dumbledore.
It's
Okay.
Dumbledore.
When you read
Maybe.
the books, you get more information on how, like, his personality. You don't
It's
get it.
very
It doesn't
strange.
come out as much
Okay.
in the movies.
I mean, you kind of get like he's a little quirky, but it's not nearly what it is.
You
in the
get-
books.
Who claps with the back of their hand though?
You get so much more. Like, there's one part in the third book that when we get to that one, I'll talk about it. That it's just like, that is straight Dumbledore, and nobody else could do that.
Yes.
Facts.
Okay.
So they all get sorted, and yay, Harry Potter's in Gryffindor, and they're all super stoked because they got Harry Potter. And the twins even make a chant that's "We got Potter, we got Potter."
Yep.
And so then that's happy, and then Dumbledore's like, "Let's eat."
And
Magic
Harry's
food.
eyes are, like, about as wide as Ron's were as the goal.
Like as wide as the plate. Like, I
Because
thought
he's
that was
never
a really
seen
good.
that much food. He's never had that much food available for him to eat.
Right? Like, he always gets the leftovers and the scraps, and it's like, here's an entire buffet's worth of food just for you.
And then on the other side of it, where Ron doesn't have as much money as other wizards, he's
not
sitting
as
there
much food
double
available
fisting
either,
with
like-
chicken wings.
I know he's got one wing in each hand. Hermione is politely, correctly eating her food, except
Yes.
for her upside down fork.
And
It's a
one thing
little
I noticed, so
interesting,
when they were getting sorted, Hermione sat on the left side of the table, and Ron and Harry sat on the right side. But then when they're eating, Ron is on the
same side as-
Ron is on the right side still, and Harry ends up on the left side
Next
in
to
the
Hermione.
seat that Hermione was sitting in, and Hermione's a seat over.
Yeah, continuity errors, fam.
Also, hats
Also, awkward student hats, like
that they never wear again after. Do they?
They were
at the end of the movie.
Yeah, at the end of the first one, but after that,
it's
like
just for
it's
sorcerers.
gone.
Yeah.
And they're weird because they don't have brims on them, and they're just like
And they're
pointy
just
cone hats
on their head.
Reminds me of Coneheads.
Yes, literally. Yeah.
And then the ghosts come in as they're eating.
Which is another really cool CGI part, is they come in through the ceiling and the floor and the walls
table.
and
Nearly
the
headless
table.
Nick.
Nearly Headless Nick, you mean, for the first time he comes up through Ron's plate and kind of scars him for life.
So Nicholas.
Sir Nicholas is nearly headless because he tried to join the Headless Hunt, but he wasn't quite beheaded, so it didn't count.
And you don't get how he was executed in the movie.
In the
but
movies, ever.
In the
you
book,
don't.
you do. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
And so
Also, the Bloody Baron looks like Captain Hook.
he does.
Just throwing that out there, like, if y'all have ever seen the movie Hook with Robin Williams, he
does
looks
look
like Captain Hook.
He
That was
does.
my immediate first thought, and I was like, time out, I'm sorry. What world are we in right now? Because I didn't think we were in Neverland, but I might be wrong.
Neverland could be, you know, a magical place.
It could be.
Neverland
fly.
is a magical place.
It could be like Hogwarts.
Well, but in, like, the wizarding world.
Yeah.
Magical place.
Like Snow
That was
White
good
and
enough.
all that
Dana
stuff.
got me.
Or not Snow White, Mary Poppins.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's another theory for another day.
So
147 staircases, you guys. 147 of them. Moving magical
Yeah.
staircases.
Yeah.
I
Which
thought
is
that
a-
was a bit ridiculous, honestly,
That's a lot.
because even in the books, it does not. There's not that many floors. The highest floor that you hear about is in the teens.
Not even, though. I thought, because isn't...
Yeah, in
Like
the
the
third
seventh-
in
well,
the
I
third
guess-
book, they talk about the 11th floor because that's where Flitwick's office is.
The 11th floor.
I'm
Huh.
pretty sure.
That has to be one of the highest ones, because the towers can't be much higher than that.
Yeah. So there's not that many staircases.
That's what it says in the
I mean,
book,
there's a
too.
lot of them,
Yeah.
like, within to, like, get... Because, like, all the staircases are, like, right up at the middle
Yeah.
of the castle. Maybe they're counting, like, all the regular, like, couple of step staircases and, like, going to the outside staircase. Maybe it's not just, like, the ones that move in the middle. Maybe it's all of them completely
Yes.
in the castle.
Because magic, people.
Like, counting... Magic. Yeah. It doesn't seem like they would fit, but
They do.
we learn later on in Harry Potter that you can fit stuff inside places that would never make any sense. So 147 is probably just fine,
Well,
honestly.
yeah,
like,
it's like Doctor Who's
Yeah,
TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside.
yep.
Ooh, nice connection there.
Yep. Sassy Percy. Prefect Percy is being all sassy, directing all of the new
Power trip.
firsties everywhere. Definitely a power trip.
Yep.
Moving
Because this is the
portraits.
first year. You don't learn that in the movie, but this is the first year that he's a prefect. He was
So
made a
he's-
prefect
He's all over it.
Yeah.
All about it.
because he wants to grow up to be in the ministry.
Yes. He likes
The
to
Ministry
be
of
in
Magic.
charge of people.
Yes.
Be like that.
And then we get to see all the portraits, and they actually move. And
Yes.
it's a really cool cinematic moment again, because even if you just like zoom out and you just kind of take in the entire scene, almost every single portrait is individually moving, doing its own little thing. And it's really cool because it's not even like, it's not busy either. Like, it's just like little motions here and there. They're just talking to one another or moving from one picture to another, or
Yeah.
it's really cool.
And then they get to the portrait that is over the entrance to the Hogwarts. Not
That
Hogwarts.
lady.
The Gryffindor.
The entrance
The
to the Hogwarts.
Gryffindor common room.
This
The
is the
Gryffindor
Hogwarts.
tower.
It's at the Hogwarts.
The Hogwarts.
She's
Oi.
the entrance of the Hogwarts.
Yes, to
damn.
the Gryffindor common room.
You know,
Yeah.
fat
Her
lady.
name is the Fat Lady. She wears a big pink dress. and she's real stuffy in this movie.
Password.
She's stuffy in this one.
And I thought it was
She
funny.
gets an upgrade, don't worry.
I thought it was funny that after he said the password, she uses her left hand, but the door opens from her right side.
And she's like, yes. Like, floop, and like opens the other way.
Just kidding.
She like opens the other way.
And so they get to see the common room, which is just set up with all kinds of red.
It's nice and cozy.
Crimson.
It is always described as cozy and
Yes.
warm because it's like big cushy chairs and big old roaring fireplace and lots of reds and golds. Like it's just a really warm room.
And then you go up to the dormitory, and they're all asleep except all the first years are asleep because
Except for
everybody every year gets their own dormitory, and the girls are on one side, boys are on the other side.
So there's 5 of them in Harry's dorm.
Yep. So the first
They are
years
the
are
five-
5 guys.
5 guys of Gryffindor in the first year.
Yep. Which is Ron, Harry, Neville, Dean,
Seamus,
and Seamus.
Yeah.
And
Dean, right?
yeah, I
Yeah,
said
she
Dean.
said Dean, I said Seamus.
And they're all asleep except for Harry. And I noticed that Harry and Hedwig get along very quickly. Like, get along really well very quickly.
She is definitely his companion.
Yes.
Like, she just gets him, and they're having some quiet time by the window. And I think it's really just Harry taking in everything that just happened to him. Like, his life 180'd, like, ASAP, and went from being this unloved, shoved aside child with no friends to a magical school with an owl and, like, these magical powers and, like, all this stuff, and it's just...
And I have money!
and he's in a castle, and he got there by a magic train, and it's just like, he just needs a timeout to take
he
it all
just
in
needs
before the first day of
to
classes.
sit there and he's just
Oh,
looking
dear.
out the window because he just needs to absorb it.
Also, school always starts on September 1st, so their whole school week just gets fucked up at the beginning of every year, and then they settle into a schedule? Like, what happens? Like, if it starts on, like, if September 1st is Sunday, then that works out well, because school starts on Monday, but what if it's on, like, Wednesday? Do they have, like, 2 days of dead time and a weekend, and then they start classes? Like, what happens?
Probably.
That's always messed me up, because it's always September 1st, and I'm like, but it's not the same. Every year, that day moves. I just want to know.
Yeah, they probably.
I mean, in the books it always says they start right away.
Which is just strange. That's why I'm like, well, what if September 1st was a Friday?
They don't really say.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, I don't know. I just
They
want to
just
know.
kind of just.
It's
They just go.
September 1st, damn it.
Anyway, first day
Okay.
of class, they are late for class. They are
Yes.
running, they are hauling balls. Like, oh shit, I have no idea where I'm going.
Yep. And they get there, and
It's for Transfiguration.
yes, which
is
is
their
their
first class.
which is the teacher of McGonagall, Professor McGonagall, and they think that she's not there. And so Ron goes, "Could you imagine the look on old McGonagall's face when we showed up late?" And she just transformed.
She
and
morphs
it's
out
really
of her cat.
cool.
And you get to see the whole thing this time. It's not in the shadow like it was in the beginning. You see the whole cat transformation. And they're just like, oh, well.
And she's like, "Maybe I should transfer you and Mr. Weasley into a pocket watch." And he's like, "We got lost."
Then perhaps a map. So much McGonagall sass.
Yes.
Also, you get to see the first of many, many, many Hermione eye rolls right when they come into the room, and she's just like,
Love
you
her.
motherfuckers.
I think it'd be
Already late.
funny if somebody did like a montage of all the Hermione eye rolls.
I bet
throughout the
there has
movies.
to be one, because they're the best.
And then they go to potions, which is with Professor Snape, who Snape
Severus
automatically, Harry thinks that Snape hates him. Because Harry's just taking notes while Snape is doing his introduction.
And Snape sasses him so hard for not paying attention. I'm like, he is taking notes, you jerk. What the heck?
And one thing I
right.
noticed with his notes is he was like going and going, and then when he gets to the put a stopper in death, he
Death
does
is all by itself.
Yeah, death is on one line. I was like, you have plenty of space over
I
there
know, he's
for
running
death.
like halfway through the page, and then he puts death on its own line. Which maybe that was meant to be on purpose, and like,
yeah, I mean, just like
death.
some kind of cinematic thing, but I was
Yes.
just like, you are wasting paper.
right? Like, why are you, and he's skipping lines, and like, you're just taking up so much space, and it's not
But as
necessary.
for someone who went to Muggle schools and was probably taught to do it that way, he doesn't know any better way.
Yeah, skipping lines is fine, but dang, giving death its own line when you still had half a page to write on? Like,
Emphasizing death.
yeah, that was probably on purpose, but it's okay.
And then they go to lunch. Yes?
Yes.
And it's mail time at lunch.
Mail's here! Oh wait, we missed Seamus blowing himself up the first time.
I thought that was after lunch.
He does it
I
the
have
second
Seamus
time.
know boom.
He does it. He does.
Oh,
it
he
twice.
does it at lunch.
He does it at lunch because he's waving his wand. He's trying to turn his water into rum.
Yes.
And he's saying some weird shit that you can't understand because he doesn't know how to enunciate.
I have rabbit, hamstring home, turn this water into rum.
Yeah, something.
He's trying to rhyme, and it's not about rhyming in the Harry Potter world for spells.
No.
Yeah, just so we're clear, that's not a thing.
That's charmed.
That's charmed and most other things.
Other rhyming
Other
things.
rhymey things like Merlin and whatnot.
Yes.
Harry Potter's all about like Latin.
Yes.
Yeah, which is awesome. But yeah,
Latin?
Seamus somehow blows up his goblet and singes off his eyebrows.
In literally all movies, Seamus is blowing something up.
Yeah, this will be a repeating offense here, people, so...
And one thing I noticed at the meal time at lunch is the owls are all dropping stuff in, and there's this one Ravenclaw girl, she's sitting there, and the owl drops a package, and it hits her hands and falls that way. And so she sticks her hands back up waiting for another
Like
one.
another one? Like, that's not how mail works. It's not just a free-for-all. I learned once how many... So that scene is full of owls, and a bunch of them are CGI, but there's a few real ones in there, too, and I don't remember the number of real owls. I want to say it was like 11 or something like that, but there are actual real birds in there, and then there are CGI owls as well.
Interesting.
That was something I ran across
Didn't
once
know
upon a
that.
time.
There we go.
And then...
Neville gets a remember all in the mail.
Yes, he does. And it lights up, because what happens when you get a remember all, it's supposed to help you remember things that you've forgotten. And it turns red when you've forgotten something.
And he couldn't remember what he'd forgotten.
Yeah.
Fun fact, he forgot his robes.
It's his robes. Everyone
If
else
any-
is wearing robes.
And Neville is missing his. He's just in his sweater.
Watch that again. I didn't notice that.
That one actually took me a long time to figure out because I was like,
Couple
I don't know
watches.
what he didn't remember. And then they're like, he forgot his robes. I was like, makes so much sense.
And then they go to flying practice. They learn to fly with Madam Hooch.
Yeah, I think it's just a first year class.
Yes,
they
it's
teach you how to ride a
just first
broom
year.
because
They don't get it any of the rest of the years. But it is smart because you have people that are Muggle-born. They don't know how to ride
They have
a
no
broom.
idea about
They
that.
think a broom is to sweep up a mess.
That's really one of the only like Muggle-born catered classes if you think about it. Like,
Besides Muggle studies.
but Muggle studies
not
is
for-
for wizards. That's not for Muggles.
I mean, for Hermione.
I mean,
She's an overachiever.
she's an overachiever. And I think she was smart to take that class and see it from a wizard's point of view.
Yes,
That was
that
good.
is true.
But anyway, it's one of the only classes that is catered towards
Muggles.
either,
Well, Muggle-borns.
Muggle-borns specifically, because it's like, it's even a stereotype, and they're like, but is that real? Do we really ride brooms? It's like, yeah. It's a common form of transportation for witches and wizards.
Which you do learn multiple other
forms of
transportation throughout the films and books.
Who picked brooms way back when witches were made up? Who picked brooms?
It goes back to like Wiccan stuff and like sweeping in a certain direction. You hear about it in Charmed. They have to sweep a certain way, and it's like it starts with that, and then it turns into them riding them, and it just like spirals out of control.
Or in Hocus Pocus, you can just ride a vacuum.
Or you can ride a vacuum.
Yeah, but like, see, like vacuums and that sort of stuff. Like, why aren't those things? Why is it just brooms?
Well, it is now. Didn't you see Hocus Pocus?
Or a mop. You can
Or
ride
a mop.
A mop is closer to a broom, and then a
Yeah.
vacuum. If you really have nothing else, you can ride the vacuum.
I
We get to learn
love-
how to fly.
I loved Hermione's face when Harry's broom
Immediately
went
jumped
up
into
to
his top. Yes, and she was just like, "You have to be kidding! How?" And guys, this is one of the only things Hermione is bad at.
Yes.
You can study as much as you want, and you can read every book, but that will not make you good at flying. There is
She
no
has-
amount of theory that you can study to make you a good flyer.
She has two things that she's bad at that we learn throughout the books and films.
And flying
And
is one of
flying
them.
is the very first thing you find out, and it's like 45 minutes into the first movie.
The broom never gets to her hand, I don't think. It
does.
rolls on the ground, eventually it kind of like wobbles up, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay. Ron gets smacked in the face with his broom, which is pretty funny. That's one of the really big comedic moments.
Yes.
Very good practical effect too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, so Madam Hooch tells them to mount their brooms. They're not flying yet, they're just mounting them.
They were just going to learn hovering for a minute.
And Neville, being the forgetful little guy that he is, just kind of just goes and goes.
His poor little, like, whistle-activated broom, because he didn't even kick off from
did
the
not
ground.
kick, it just
Like,
was
his
just
broom was just like,
weird.
okay, let's go! And he flies all over the place, and crashes into the castle, gets stuck on some, like, statue at the top, falls all the way to the ground, and busts his wrist.
Yeah, busts his arm.
Breaks his
And
wrist.
Malfoy, well, Madame Hooch escorts him to
The
the hospital
hospital.
wing.
Reminding all of them, if any of them get on their brooms, they'll be out of Hogwarts faster than they can say Quidditch.
And I used to always
You said Quidditch
say
fast.
I used to
know.
always say Quidditch to see how fast I could
Quidditch.
say it.
Quidditch.
To see how fast they would get expelled.
Probably like, how fast is that, though? I need to
And
know.
then, after they have left, Malfoy picks up the Remember-All.
Neville dropped it in his crazy broom ride.
Yep, and Malfoy makes a very rude comment about if he had remembered to squeeze it, then he would have remembered to fall on his fat ass.
Which I'm like, I'm sorry, you are 11, and you're saying ass? Like, your parents obviously have no form of discipline for you.
Nope.
So,
But if I
And
said
so, him and Draco, Malfoy, and Harry
Potter,
pretty much fight. Well, not fight. They fly fight
they fly fight.
over the Remember-All because
Malfoy thinks that Harry can't fly on
Fly.
a broom because he's lived with muggles his whole life and everything, and Draco's a pureblood and he's been on a broom since he was little and blah blah blah.
except for if you notice, it takes a bit for his broom to come up to him.
It does. He's like the second or third
yeah,
person
he
to get
is-
it, but Harry definitely gets his first.
Yes, which means Harry is going to be a damn good flyer. And you find that out immediately.
Yeah, he's like,
He literally just like hops on his broom and
Zooming around.
zooming around, and
Catches the Remember-All after
Malfoy
Malfoy
hucks
threw
it,
it.
like throws the shit out of that Remember-All
and
towards
he
the
catches
castle.
it right in front of McGonagall's office window. And so she
Does a barrel roll.
yes, she comes down and I was like, Harry Potter?
Come with me.
he's
Follow
like,
me.
he's like, crap, I'm in trouble.
He's
All the
like,
kids were
"Oh."
praising him for catching it and coming to the ground and not crashing, and then she comes out and is like, let's freaking go.
crap, I didn't say Quidditch.
And, and she takes him to another student, Oliver Wood, who is
We love Oliver Wood.
who
Yeah.
is the captain of the Gryffindor Quidditch team.
I just always think of, there's a little teeny tidbit in the book where Harry's like panicking about where they're going.
Yeah.
And she's like, I need wood. And he's like, what is wood? Is wood a stick that she's going to beat
Yeah.
me with? And wood turns out to be a person. So it's okay.
Burly 5th year.
A burly 5th year.
Yes.
Named Oliver Wood.
And
Magic.
she says, I've found you a new seeker. And you find out a little bit later what the seeker is. And they get back and it's another scene. And
They find out that Harry is the youngest Quidditch player
Yes,
in a
that's it.
century.
I was trying to
for
figure out how to
Hogwarts.
word that.
Yeah, they're talking about the fact that he skirted getting expelled and detention and everything all together, and he ended up getting put on the Quidditch team instead for
Is it just
breaking all
Quidditch
the
player or
rules.
is it Seeker?
Well,
He's
they,
the youngest
originally they say
Seeker.
Quidditch player in a century, and later on in the movie they say Seeker.
Okay.
So
And then it goes
It is
to
Seeker.
Hermione leads them to the trophy case, and there's a plaque of the Gryffindor team had won the Quidditch Cup in 1972 when his dad was a Seeker.
and it has J. Potter on the plaque as Seeker. Also, there's a little cameo of McGonagall in that scene too. There's an M. McGonagall off to the side for Chaser
Oh, I
on that
missed
same
that one.
plaque because she played Quidditch when she was
that.
younger.
That was
so
the new one I noticed.
I missed
Wrong
that
year. But yeah.
yeah, wrong year, but
Completely wrong
it's
year.
on there anyway.
one. And
It's like, because she was a teacher when he was there. But
Yeah.
we won't get that.
And then they're walking around again. The moving staircases are a nightmare, honestly. Like, that is just messed up for these first years to try and maneuver around a castle, even if all the staircases were in place and they
Yes.
never moved. And so then they're trying to
figure
go
out.
do whatever it is that they're doing, and they're halfway up a staircase and it moves,
Yeah.
and it tosses them onto the one floor that they're not supposed to be on.
And Mrs. Norris, which is the caretaker Filch's cat, Mrs. Norris,
Yes, Mrs.
comes
Norris.
in and scares them, and they run because they know Mrs. Norris is here.
So
Filch is not far behind.
her. Yeah.
So they run the wrong direction.
Down the corridor that they're not supposed to be in, behind a door. Well, they get to a door and it's locked, and they're panicking, and
And they're
Hermione's like, you
Severus!
guys are idiots. You guys are idiots, and
They're
she's-
Cerberus!
throws them to the side and says Aloha Mora and opens the door, and then behind the door is
Cerberus!
Cerberus.
Which you don't, it's not his name. You find out his name later. His name is Fluffy.
Fluffy.
But when you
He's
think
a
of a three-headed
three-headed
dog,
dog.
you think of,
Cerberus.
Cerberus.
His name is Fluffy.
So then they survive the encounter with Fluffy, and they go back to the common room, and they're panicking, and Hermione's like, you guys are idiots, didn't you see that it was standing on something? And Ron's like, well, no, I was trying not to get eaten by its heads.
Yes.
Didn't you see that it had 3 heads?
And she was like, it's standing on a trap door. So
And then
guarding
it's Charms class with Professor Flitwick.
something. Yeah.
And
Plus
that's
we get one of Hermione's best lines, which is, I'm going to bed before either of you decide to get us killed, or worse, expelled.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
And
I had the Quidditch before Charmed
okay, yep, go for it.
with Wood again.
Woohoo!
So then after that, we get to
too,
see
Wood,
Harry
I swear.
learning about Quidditch with Oliver Wood. We love Oliver Wood.
I particularly love Oliver Wood.
Yes. He's so nice. We love him and his accent and everything is wonderful.
He's just yummy.
Yes. So Quidditch, Oliver's like, Quidditch is easy enough to understand, and I'm like, hold on. If you guys have ever actually like heard all the rules and everything to Quidditch, it is not easy.
No.
At all. No. Even reading the books the first time I was like, wait, so there's 7 players and then there's this many balls and this one does this, but this person does this and it only counts if they do that, and then this ball is worth 1,000,000 points, and then like it's so confusing. So he's like, it's easy enough to understand, and like, you are high.
So is there
Oliver
things
Wood.
for the 3 rings, or is it just as long as it goes through a
they're
ring?
all 10
Yeah, all of them are worth
Okay.
10 points.
Yeah.
See, but it's stuff like that.
Yeah, like-
you don't know. He has a crate full of the Quidditch, the balls they use for Quidditch,
So
and
there's 3 different types, but there's 4 balls,
yeah, there's one quaffle, which is the red one,
which
and
is the size of a football. It is not the shape of a football, it is the size of a football.
yes, football
So
is in
this
soccer
way or
ball.
this way?
Yes.
Football.
Football.
Except for they spell it wrong in the books.
Yes.
They spell it American football instead of regular
Spanish
football.
or regular football. Yeah.
It's FOOTBALL instead of FUT.
BOL.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ball.
I mean, we're reading American ones, so.
That's probably,
But
I mean,
that's-
even I have a British, a British book
Mm-hmm.
from England,
And
and
it's
it's still spelled wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
whichever. So there's the quaffle, and that's for the chasers. That's what you score with. You throw the red ball around. There's 3 chasers on the team, and they pass it back and forth, and they throw it through the goal.
Yep.
Is the main idea. Then there's 2
And
black,
the keeper,
and the
guards
keeper
them.
guards the goals,
Yes,
so that
guards.
the quaffle does not go through the
keeper,
goal.
it's the same thing as in soccer. The keeper.
Yeah, the keeper's
guards
the
goal.
keeper, the
the
goalie. They're the goalie.
Yeah.
Then there are 2 bludgers. They are black. They are charmed to fly around and knock players off of their brooms. That is
They
their
remind
purpose.
me a lot of shock puts that can fly.
Yes, they're a little bit bigger, but
Yes.
they're somewhere between like a shot put and a soccer ball.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that. It's like,
Yeah.
because they're about like yay big.
Yeah.
You can't see my hands, but I'm gesturing to how large I think a bludger is.
And the beaters.
Anyway, yeah, they fly around and try and knock people off their brooms, and there's 2 players on each team called beaters
Yes.
that have bats, and they try to maneuver the bludgers around the field, pretty much. They knock them towards the other team and try to protect their own team from getting bashed by these, like, flying bowling balls. pretty
Defense!
Yeah? Defense?
Pretty much defense, yes.
much. It could be offense,
And then
too.
there, yes, it is offensive as well. And then there is the golden snitch, and Harry likes this ball, but would
Oh, you like it now. You like it now until it's impossible to see because it's tiny. It's about the size of a golf ball.
Yeah,
And
walnut,
it's
yeah.
gold and it has wings.
and it
and-
is super fast,
Super duper fast, super hard to catch. But
and
if you
hard to
catch,
see,
yeah, hard to see.
especially for someone with Harry's vision problems.
Yeah, his glasses.
Can't help being blind.
Hello,
Magic. I'm blind.
Me too.
And so the goal, the snitch belongs to the seeker, and the seeker's job is to catch the snitch. Catching the snitch ends the game. Most of the time you win the game because the snitch is worth 150 points. Also, the
Most.
scoring system in Quidditch doesn't make any sense,
No,
but it's fine. I
And
just I
Wood-
want to know who thought Quidditch thought it was a good idea.
Wood does say.
Like, this is freaking nuts. Like, this game is meant to kill people, and
Yes.
they're like, this would be a fun sport.
Yeah.
Let's knock people off their brooms from 1,000,000 feet in the air. Also, a ball that's impossible to catch. Also,
Yes. Well,
14 people at
it's
once.
less dangerous at the school level than it is at the World Cup level.
obviously,
And
yeah.
like the professional level.
But we don't know about that till.
But we don't know that.
till
Okay,
book
now
four.
we can go to Charms.
Well, you hear about it in book 3 though. The World
Yeah.
Cup.
Oh.
Yeah, in book 3, yes. In movie 3, no. And
So we get to meet Flitwick for the first time,
Yes.
who, at this point in time, is a tiny old man with white curly hair and a beard. It
And a
doesn't stay that way, guys.
long mustache.
And he
Long
Benjamin
mustache.
Buttons.
He does Benjamin Button.
The third one.
Anyway, so we meet Flitwick. He is the charms professor, and he is also the head of Ravenclaw.
And you learn flip and whoop, as Sean calls
The
it.
flip and whoop, otherwise known as the
Swish
swish and
and
flick.
flick.
Yes.
And they're learning Wingardium Leviosa, the levitating charm.
Leviosa. No, Leviosa.
Yes.
Duh.
And they say it
You do it if
differently.
you're so smart.
They say it differently than it reads because Rupert Grint has that accent to where he says R instead of ah when he's trying to say ah, he says R. So
That's his accent.
That's where it comes from, but in the book it's actually he says it wrong without the R. He just says it wrong.
He just says it wrong.
It's Ron.
It's
Because
Ron.
Ron.
And he's like flinging his wand around, and she's like, "You're gonna put someone's eye out. Stop."
It's like, stop, stop, stop.
So then he's like, "Well, you do it then," and she does it perfectly.
Because
Yep.
it's Hermione.
Because it's Hermione.
And Seamus also blows his feather up.
Yeah, he strikes again, so that's 2 blow-ups
He
in
says,
one movie.
Wingard Leviosa.
Wingard Leviosa. Like, he's not even close to saying it correctly.
Wingard.
And his feather is now incinerated. So,
Professor, I think we're gonna need another feather.
And then they're leaving charms class.
and Ron's a dick.
Yes, Ron is a dick. Which, I don't know how they went. Well, I guess they had already, they're learning a new spell at this charms class. Because it is Halloween. You don't learn that till a little bit later in this
It's
particular
like the same,
sequence.
Yeah.
It's the same day because you find out, because Ron was making fun of her as they were walking away from class and she runs past them crying. And then they're at dinner, they're wondering where Hermione is at.
And it's the Halloween feast.
Yes, it is the Halloween feast. Neville said that she's been crying in the girls' bathroom all afternoon.
Because Ron decided to say she's a nightmare right as she's walking past,
Yes.
and that's just rude.
Poor
Yeah,
Hermione.
dick.
Hermione doesn't have any friends at this point, and she's already outcast because she's a Muggle-born, and so
Yes.
she's trying to compensate by knowing all things magic, and she's just coming off too strong, and so everybody just kind of hates her right now. But that's no reason to call her a nightmare. That was
No.
rude.
And Professor Quirrell runs in. Troll in the dungeon!
And then promptly faints onto the floor. Like, you are such a useless human being, honestly. Like, you are not good at a single damn thing except screaming and stuttering. And so, but yeah, he runs in and is like, "Troll in the dungeon, thought you ought to know." Done. On the floor. Chaos in the Great Hall.
And they're all screaming and everything, and Dumbledore yells,
Silence!
And it's one of the few times, because this is more of a gentle Dumbledore. If you are familiar with the Harry Potter films, Richard Harris passes away after the second movie, and so we get a different Dumbledore later in the series, but this is very accurate to the books, Dumbledore,
Yes.
and so, but you actually get to see, he is a very powerful wizard, and this is one of the few moments in the first movie that you actually get to see that. Like, he's not just some gentle, crazy old man. Like, he's still in charge, he's still the headmaster, he's still one of the most powerful wizards in history.
Yes.
And he literally silences the entire hall full of students with just one word and commands them into more of an organized mess and tells them to go back to the dormitories and
calmly.
to the prefects to take the students calmly to the dormitories and all the teachers to the dungeons to find the troll.
And Harry realizes that Hermione does not know about the troll.
Because she's been in the bathroom crying because Ron's a dick. Just a recap.
And so so Harry and Ron go looking for Hermione, and as they come around the corner, the troll is going into the girls' bathroom.
So, needless to say, the troll was not in the dungeon.
Not
Just
anymore.
One of them says that. He goes, I don't think the troll's in, or I think the troll's left the dungeon.
Ron
Yes.
says it.
Yeah, Ron says it.
And it jumps to Hermione, and she's coming out of the bathroom stall. And let me tell you, she looks damn good for having cried all day.
I know, I'm such an ugly crier. Like, if she's been crying all afternoon and she looks like a little princess, I'm like, dang, teach me how to cry.
Seriously.
Because I look like a hot mess.
It's like
And
snot.
Snot and red eyes and just like disaster.
And so she looks up and sees the troll because he kind of made a noise, because trolls are not very quiet creatures.
They're not very smart either.
No.
Big old dummies.
In the Newt Scamander's guide, it tells you that they have the brains the size of the peas.
Yes.
Of a pea.
Of a pea.
Not the peas.
The peas.
The
A
peas.
pea.
A single.
So he catches Hermione off guard, and she's kind of like, "Oh God, there's a troll!" And she backs up
Into the stall.
and closes the door. And he swings his big old club that he's got with him and smashes all the stalls down. Like, Hermione almost dies so many times, you guys. Like, she's
Yes.
11 years old, trapped in a bathroom with a troll. Like, this is not what school is supposed to be.
And she runs out just as Harry and Ron are running in. She runs out of the stall under the sinks, which I'm like, that's not protection at all.
I know, she, like, went under the sink, and then he almost smashes her under the sink. The boys are throwing pieces of wood at this troll, trying to get his attention and draw it away from Hermione. Ron finally managed to beat him in the head. He's like, "Pea brain!" And there's a big old clunk, and he's like, "Huh?" And, like, turns around and starts coming at them instead.
He reminds me of, Emperor's New Groove, Yzma's...
Kronk?
Yes.
I mean, kind of.
Wrong lever!
Wrong lever! That's hilarious.
Pull the lever! Crunk!
Wrong lever! So then
Harry
he...
is attacking the troll, and the
Yeah.
troll manages to pick him up.
Yeah, Harry grabs onto the club on one of the
that's
troll's
it.
back swings and, like, flies up onto his shoulders.
Yep.
And so he's, like, swinging around, and he jams his wand up his nose, which really had to hurt. Like, every time I see that, I'm just like, God.
Let me
that
tell
hurts
you,
so-
that shit does hurt. 'Cause when I was little...
She's got a wand up her nose, you guys.
No, when I was little, I got tested for whooping cough, and they stuck that cotton ball stick up my nose, and it felt like it was touching my brain.
Literally
that
your brain,
shit
right?
hurts.
Oh.
Do not stick a wand up your nose. No
Don't
matter
do
if
it.
you were a troll
Wand or a pencil.
or a goblin
Or
Or
whatever.
whoever you are, don't put a wand up your nose.
This shit hurts.
Jeez. So then, Ron finally has an epiphany to
Swish and
levitate the club so that the troll cannot swing anymore. So Hermione is being Hermione from under the sink, reminding him to swish and flick, and he does a perfect execution of Wingardium Leviosa.
The
Let's
day
take-
they learn it, he does it perfectly.
This is also because he now has Harry dangling by his ankle, and he's swinging his club at him, so
Yeah.
then Ron levitates the club.
Let me tell you, Harry's got some strong abs if he can lift himself up like that
I
when
know,
he's
he's like,
upside down.
I know, I'm like, I would have been dead.
I would have been dead as well.
No core, you guys. I would have been dead.
And so Ron is levitating the club, and the troll looks up. He's like, "Huh?" and looks up, and it falls on him and hits him in the head.
And
he
knocks him
kind
out.
of like wobbles and then falls. And I swear, every time I watch it, I think he's gonna fall flat.
I know, and smash
that's
the wand
once-
all the way through his skull.
Yes, that's what I think is gonna happen.
Yes,
Every time I watch
agreed.
that.
And then, but to be fair, he turns his head to the side and does not smash Harry's wand all the way up his nose.
Yes.
That doesn't happen. So.
And then the teachers come in, and Hermione takes the blame for letting the troll in, even though she did not. We learn later who did.
Because she was so grateful for them because she would have been dead if they hadn't come into the bathroom, and
she
so
did not want them getting in trouble for
saving
saving
her life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before we leave the troll thing, I've always thought this, like, from the pictures I've seen of, like, the scrap designs of Shrek. But the
Yeah.
troll
Yeah.
looks like Shrek. Like the scrap design
yeah,
of
he
Shrek, and they
kinda-
just
Literally,
used it elsewhere.
first impression,
Yeah,
like,
that's
he's
funny.
big and green, and he has the ears and everything, like,
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
It's-
it's Shrek.
oh, hey, it's Shrek. It's like,
So for Shrek is not that dumb.
no.
No.
He's
No.
a lot smarter than that.
And McGonagall.
He's also an ogre and not a troll. There's
Yes.
difference.
Yes.
Big difference.
Differences.
And McGonagall says one of my favorite lines. 5 points will be awarded to each of you for sheer dumb luck for defeating the troll.
More McGonagall sass.
Also to keep in mind, the teachers that showed up were McGonagall, Snape, and Quirrell were the ones
Yes.
that found them in the bathroom.
Yes. And Snape, Harry notices, has a cut on his leg that is bleeding.
Yeah, he's bleeding, like his pant leg is all torn and there's blood running down his leg, and then he covers it up and he stares at Harry, and it's awkward Snape.
Yes.
And then...
Snape's always awkward, though.
Yes.
He gives
So
us
then-
awkward stares.
Then the next morning, they're at breakfast, which it is a Saturday. You don't know this unless you read the books. Quidditch is always on Saturday.
Always.
Quidditch.
So it is a Saturday morning, and Snape is walking by, and he's limping. Harry notices that he's limping, and he tells Ron and Hermione that
What he thinks happened.
he thinks that Snape tried to go get past Fluffy, which
Under
they
the
don't know
trap
that
door.
it's Fluffy. At this,
past the 3-headed dog
Yes.
into the trapdoor that they don't know what is under the trapdoor. But
Yes.
that's where they think he tried to go.
And
And
then
they
they
think
go-
Snape is the bad guy
yeah.
at this point.
Yes, they do think Snape is the bad guy.
Because he's a douche.
They think Snape is the bad guy throughout the entire
I would say
series.
most of the time.
And then they go to the Quidditch game.
Oh yeah, before the Quidditch game, Harry gets a brand new Nimbus 2000
Yes, he
because he
does.
doesn't own a broom, and they're like, you know what? Our youngest seeker in a century should have the best racing broom available. Let's just buy it for him.
McGonagall got
McGonagall.
him that broom.
Got him a broom, and I'm just like,
We know this by the fact that
They make
Hedwig
Hedwig is sitting
flies
with
over
McGonagall.
to McGonagall and is sitting with her, and they make eye contact, and she kind of grins at him.
Like, there you go.
Also, like, after watching the whole series and then watching the first one for the first time in a long time, you get to see that Snape does care the whole time about them. But
You'll see more
you
instances
see,
of
but
that.
it's like the first time you actually get to see it.
After you've watched the whole
There's
thing
a
and then you
few
go back,
times-
it's like, oh,
There's a few times I've written down in here that
I have to.
there's
Yeah.
things that Snape does that you don't notice the first time
They're-
you watch.
things
that
are not as they
he
seem.
cares.
Mhm.
You don't see it as he's caring. You see it as he's being a teacher.
Yeah.
Yes. So then Harry has his new broom, and if you watch right before it cuts to the Quidditch scene, you see Oliver sitting next to Harry almost having an aneurysm over the fact that he has a brand new racing broom
Yes.
sitting in front of him. He's literally like drooling on the table over the broom.
Yes.
And then, yay, Quidditch! We go outside and we get to see the first Quidditch game of the Harry Potter series.
And
it's
one
super
thing
exciting.
that you learn
Hey, Quidditch.
later on in the
Quidditch.
books from other Quidditch matches, as well as the Quidditch Through the Ages book, when what's the captain of
Marcus.
Marcus Flint. I'm so bad with names.
I
When
got
Marcus
you.
Flint takes the beaters
Club.
club and hits the bludger at Wood and knocks him out, that should have been a penalty, and they should have gotten a free shot at goal.
Yes.
But they did not. And halfway through the game, Lee Jordan, who is the announcer for every Quidditch
I wish we could
match,
hear more of Lee Jordan because
he
he's
just
so...
stops announcing.
Lee Jordan is Fred and George's best friend.
friend.
Fred and George are the twins. Lee Jordan is their best friend and kind of the third man in their little
trio,
group,
yes.
their little troop. And he always announces for the Quidditch games, and he is a Gryffindor, so he
He's
is consistently
hilarious.
biased to the Gryffindor team, and McGonagall constantly has to tell him to focus on the game and not be such an asshole about it. But these things happen.
What's wrong with being biased against Gryffindor?
So he's biased for Gryffindor, not against Gryffindor.
Also, fun fact,
Is it four?
if you guys
You said
know...
against.
If you guys
Not
know
getting
who
into that.
Julianne Hough is, she's a super... she's a famous dancer, and she's been in a bunch of... She was in the new Footloose movie and stuff like that. She was a cameo in the Harry Potter movie. She's at the Quidditch game.
Yeah,
She's a little teeny blonde Gryffindor, and she's adorable, so just a fun fact there.
yeah. A little bloop.
Also, the original Quidditch Stadium, because it does not look the same later
Nope.
in the series. I like the original one. Also, a bunch of adults come to the Quidditch matches. Like, did you guys notice that? In the books, it's always just, like, students, and then obviously some of the teachers go. But
There's, like,
when you
tons
watch
of
the movie,
adults.
there's tons of adults, and I'm like, do the parents get to come? Is it just people from Hogsmeade? Like, what is...
Where did you come
Where
from?
did all these people come from? Why are they watching a child's Quidditch game? I don't know. I just thought it was weird.
And
I also wrote down, someone should introduce Marcus Flint to Hermione's parents because he has the world's most jagged teeth. And for those of you that don't know, Hermione's parents are dentists.
yes,
so,
you do learn that later on.
yeah, he's got a messed up mouth.
And then it goes to Christmas.
Well, and Harry...
Entire thing there, dear.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay,
You
so...
Go.
Yeah, you go.
What about Quidditch? You did about him catching the
Oh,
stick in his mouth?
Yeah, you skipped the whole thing.
Completely skip that.
Oh, wait, we've been doing this for so fucking long.
I know, this is going to be so long. I apologize to anybody listening because we're literally just rambling.
Go.
Yeah,
You
go,
haven't
Jess.
said shit. Go.
I've been talking like the
I
whole
wonder
time.
why. It's like, so there's this whole Quidditch match they have going on and everything. And what happens is that someone bewitches Harry's broom. You don't really see. You kind of see that it looks like it's Snape. They think it's Snape.
Yeah.
We'll just-
Like,
Because you
like he sees his mouth moving, and his eyes were focused on Harry's broom.
So it looks
And
like he's
so-
pushing the broom.
Hermione's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go fix this," and she goes and lights him on fire, which I thought was awesome.
Or, like, literally, they would be so helpless without Hermione. She just, like, pulls something out of her ass to fix this. She's like, you know what? I think a good distraction is fire.
Fire. She loves fire. So yeah, she sets him on fire, gets them all distracted. She knocks over some other teachers on the way as she goes to light Snape on fire.
Yep.
Yes.
And then
Snape knocks some people over.
Yeah,
'cause
he,
he's on fire.
he, like, flails and knocks everybody over around him.
Yes. And so then Harry finally gets able back on his broom, and he has to dive for the golden snitch, and he
The Slytherin seeker bitches out and
bitches
doesn't.
out.
He bows out of the scary chicken dive at the ground. Harry pulls out of it just in time.
Just in time.
Miraculous save! He doesn't crash into the grass at his first Quidditch game.
Yeah, he's standing on his broom. We're like, that's
He's literally
really safe.
standing up on his broom. I'm like, okay, I realize he's the best, like, he's the youngest seeker and whatever, but really, though, can he stand on his broom?
Yeah, he stands on. He kind of trips over it and like falls.
Like,
and
face plants.
face plants, and he kind of like he looks like he's gonna throw up, but he caught the snitch.
He's
in his
gonna
mouth.
be sick.
And he coughs up the snitch, and Gryffindor wins! Yay!
Yeah, that's very important. That snitch.
Super
by the way, later
important.
on, but
Yes.
Yeah, he caught the snitch in his mouth, which is not,
important.
you know,
now,
the most...
but
Not conventional.
Yeah, not the most conventional way to capture a snitch, but, you know, whatever works.
it's important later on.
Then
in the
it is
stories.
important later on.
Yes.
Like 7th book.
And then... Also,
Time
the
out real quick,
CGI
though.
is not really great either.
No.
They all look like
Oh,
rubber cartoon
God,
characters.
yes.
All of the flying is just... It's 2001, fam. It's okay.
Yes.
You
Okay.
go. You were next. Christmas.
Christmas!
I'm like, no,
Oh.
it's good.
I have Hugh Hagrid spilling all the tea. All of the secrets. That was in between. That was
Oh.
after Quidditch and before Christmas. So they're walking with Hagrid outside, and they tell him about how they think Snape is trying to get past
Yeah.
a three-headed dog, and he's like, how do you know about Fluffy? And they're like, that thing has a name. And so then Hagrid pretty much drops a bunch of secrets that 11-year-olds should not know about the goings-on at Hogwarts. And he says he shouldn't have said that a million times. And... yeah, and now it's Christmas.
Now it's Christmas!
Christmas! Woo!
And they're
Now
walking
you know
in the
why I took
halls.
5 pages of notes.
And they're walking in the halls, and there's ghosts singing Christmas carols, like wizarding Christmas carols. I thought that was so
It's
funny.
so cool, and they're just like floating and singing random wizarding carols.
And
it's
Hermione walks into the Great Hall, and
sorry.
Harry and Ron are playing wizard's chess.
Yes.
awesome. Which is just like regular chess, except
The pieces,
the pieces
attack
move on
each
their-
other
They attack each other. They move on their own. You command them like a
around
general.
the board.
You command them around the board, and they attack each other and bust each other up.
And Hermione's like, "What is that?
It's totally barbaric.
That's wizard's chess."
Also, Ron is good at something. Ron is very good at wizard's chess.
Yes, he is.
That is one thing, even better than like his brothers and stuff. That's one of the few things that he has
Yeah,
that
that
kind
he's
of
good at.
makes him stand apart from the rest of the Weasleys. Is he's good.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. Christmas Day.
Yeah, Christmas Day, Harry wakes up and he goes downstairs, and Ron tells him that he has presents, and he's shocked that he actually has presents from someone.
And honestly, it's such a sweet moment because it keeps playing back to the point that Harry doesn't really have a family. He doesn't have like much at all, and so the fact that he's already made enough friends at this point to get him gifts for Christmas,
Yeah.
his very first time being at Hogwarts, like it's really heartwarming.
And it doesn't show it, but it does show that Ron is wearing a sweater with an R on it that his mom made, and his mom also
In
made
maroon,
one.
it's always maroon
Yes.
for Ron.
He's like, it's always
Continue.
maroon.
And Mrs. Weasley also made one for Harry,
Which is
and
super sweet.
she doesn't even know him.
She doesn't even
Like,
know
she
him
met
yet.
him the
She
once.
she met him one time. She knows that he's friends with Ron, and she knows enough about his story that she felt inclined to send him. She sent him mince pies
Yep.
and a freshly knitted sweater,
Yep.
which was green, and Ron was jealous that Harry's was a pretty green color and his is always maroon. But Harry got his own Weasley sweater, the first of many.
Yes.
Many.
And then he gets his invisibility cloak, which he doesn't know who it's from.
It's
But
from
it
an
was
anonymous
his dad's,
Yeah.
and his dad gave it to said person to hold on to until Harry was ready for it.
So he got a legit invisibility cloak for Christmas. His first Christmas in the Wizarding World.
Rare.
They're super rare. Super rare.
Also, that you can, for a brief second, you can see the blue screen that they used for it.
I noticed that too.
Because you can see it under his chin.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Although, you have to think that, like, making the invisibility cloak was probably super easy, because he just needs a giant blue blanket to, like, wrap around himself, so it's not, like,
And then we
super
just
hard.
What's right behind you there?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's pretty much what it is.
My body's gone.
The next thing I have is, I think it's totally justified that Hermione loves the library as much as she does. Like, she came from a muggle world. She didn't even know any of this stuff existed. Of course, like, I would want to go to the library and learn spells and learn, like, magical everything.
I'm
People make
surprised
fun of her for
Harry-
going to the library all the time. And
I'm
it's
surprised
like,
Harry doesn't go more because he comes from that world, but not really. He doesn't know anything
doesn't
about
know
it,
anything
even
about
though
it.
that's where he comes from.
he's
I'm
just
surprised
not
he's
as
not there more.
studious. But I just feel bad for her because everyone always makes fun of her, and I'm like, wouldn't you want to learn magic? I don't know. That's what I think.
I mean,
I would want to learn spells and learn potions
Same.
and learn how to be the best witch that I can be. So,
I mean, I like the library anyways, so.
yes.
I got my own personal one over there.
It's very true.
And Harry is in the library. One of the few times you see him in the
Like,
library.
the first thing he does with his invisibility cloak is go to the library. like-
that would have been me too!
I know, you said that.
Oh, I guess that would be something that was part of the conversation they had with Hagrid. Is
When
they were
Nicholas
talking
Flamel.
about what could possibly be in the trapdoor and what is going on at Hogwarts, and Hagrid says it's between Dumbledore and Nicholas Flamel. And then he says he shouldn't have said that, so that's the whole point in them going to the libraries. They're trying to
find
look
out.
up who Nicholas Flamel is and
Yep.
why he is significant.
Yep.
So that would make more sense if you
Yeah.
knew that tidbit of information.
Yeah. Goes to the library. I was like, Harry, you're such a dork. But love it. Yeah. He's holding, like, this lamp out. You can see
His little arm hanging out of the...
It's like,
the
that's
invisibility
not
cloak.
normal.
I think it's so funny how much the invisibility cloak's abilities change. Like in the first movie, if you're doing something, you have to have your hands out of the invisibility cloak. But then later on in the movies, if you're doing something, your hands don't have to be out of the cloak. And I'm like, what?
I think maybe Harry's just, like, gaining more common sense as he goes. Like, maybe I don't need to hold it. Like, I can still see if it's under... Like, you can see out of the cloak, and I can still see with the light, but then they can't see the light. Like, he just gains some brains
I just
as we
think that
go.
that's funny.
Yes, that is funny.
And Harry picks up a book that screams at him.
Yeah.
So he panics, drops it, smashes the lantern, and alerts
Filch.
Filch to the fact that he is out of bed. Students out of bed!
And Snape and Quirrell, Harry leaves the library because he knows Filch is coming because he made too much noise with the book and dropping the lamp. So he leaves the library and my guess is like kind of right outside,
Yeah.
Snape is threatening Quirrell, like holding him against the wall, threatening him. You don't want me as an enemy.
And they're like, what the hell is going on here?
yeah. And then,
Snape, like, senses someone in the area.
yeah.
And so Harry's, like, trying to back down the corridor, and you see Snape, like, reach out and, like, grasp, like, into thin air because he thinks something is there. He doesn't hit Harry, but
he's close.
he has this inkling that something is around, something is amiss. And then
Yep.
Filch shows up, and he's like, students out of bed! And so they go to find the student out of bed, and the student was really just down the hall, and they go into an empty classroom
Mhm.
to hide for a moment.
Yes, he does.
And what does he find?
He finds this big mirror.
This beautiful mirror.
With some
beautiful.
writing on the outside of it.
There's some writing on the outside. It's backwards, actually, what it says. But we'll get
It
more
seems almost Latin-y until you actually read it,
Until you
and it's
read
actually
it.
just backwards writing.
Yeah. And Harry looks in the mirror and he sees his mom and dad in the mirror. I'm like, that
Which is super, like,
I was like,
heartbreaking.
ouch. Ouch. My heart, Harry.
It's, like, happy, but it's also sad because he's never seen his parents
Yeah.
up to this point. And
Yeah.
so, like, in the books they describe it, and he's looking at these people, and the guy has the same dark hair and glasses that he does, and then
Dark,
the
messy hair.
dark, messy hair sticking up the same way his does in the back. And then he looks at the woman, and she has beautiful red hair and eyes that match his. In the book, they're green. In the movie, they don't match, but it's okay. You know, we can make invisibility cloaks and make people fly, but we can't afford colored contacts.
Well,
Hey, they were running out of that 125 million.
Running out of money, we can't do the contacts. They're just going to have different colored eyes. It's not important. Jesus. Sorry, I'm so sensitive about that. Like, it's such a small detail that you can get correct, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do, and they just didn't. And I'm like, that's such a big, important feature.
Yes.
As Harry has his mother's eyes.
Because they say that so many times.
It was definitely Hallows.
Yes. Yes. But anyway, so he sees his parents. And so then he panics. And he runs back to the dormitory and he's like, Ron, you have to see this! This mirror shows me my parents!
Yep. Ron's like, what?
It's like half asleep still.
What?
Also, Ron was laying like flat as a board in his bed, and I'm like, who the hell sleeps like that? Like, he's just on his back, like he got petrified, and he's just chilling. I'm like, no, just no.
Maybe it's just how he sleeps. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. So yeah, Ron and Harry go back to where the mirror is, and Harry's like, you can see my parents. He's like, Harry stands in front of the mirror, and Ron's like, oh, I only see you. He's like, well, then you stand here. And he's like, can you see them? He's like, no, I'm by myself. And he has, like, he's got the Quidditch cup, because he's Quidditch captain, and he's head boy, and he's just the best out of all of his siblings.
Yes. And it's an interesting thing, because once you get to know Ron, and you get to know the Weasleys and everything, it's actually a really kind of sad vision for Ron, too, because he's always been overshadowed, because he's the youngest boy out of 6 boys, and then Ginny is the only girl, as she's the youngest. So he just kind of gets lost in the mess because all of his older brothers have something that stands out about him, and so he just kind of gets the leftovers of everything. So his biggest want in life is to be good at something so that he can stand out. So he sees himself with all these awards and all of these achievements and accomplishments to prove that he is also important and he is his own person, and it's just kind of a bummer when you actually think about it, because at first it's just kind of materialistic,
and you're like,
he's like, I'm the best at everything, and you're like, okay, Ron, whatever. Like, Harry sees his parents, but then you learn about it and you're like, oh, that actually kind of sucks.
Yeah, after you go back, after you've seen all of them or read all of them, then you go back and read or watch that one again, and you're like, wow, that sucks.
That's
you're
so
like,
sad.
Ouch.
Well, it does a better job of explaining it in the book, I think, because I think they even touch on that a little bit.
He explains more about his brothers.
Well,
and doesn't Dumbledore talk about it, too, at some point? He's like, Ron sees...
After
he
goes back.
So, so then Ron sees that, and then...
You see Harry just sitting in front of it.
And then Dumbledore's like, back again, Harry.
He knows he's been there the whole time. Also, I was sad because... So they talk about the scene, and Dumbledore tells him what the mirror shows you, which is your greatest desire. Like, a man that has everything he could ever want and is happy with everything would see himself exactly as he is. Yeah. And so he explains to Harry that you see your greatest desire in life, and Harry's greatest desire is to have a family. And so he sees his parents, and in the book, he asks Dumbledore what he would see, what his greatest desire is. And he tells him that he just sees himself with a pair of socks. And I thought it was
he never has enough socks.
No, you can never have enough socks.
I mean, that's true, but...
Yeah, and it was one of those quirky Dumbledore things.
I have way too many socks.
Actually, socks are overflowing, so...
Not for me.
Dumbledore can have some of my socks.
We can send Dumbledore some socks.
Dumbledore.
Yikes. So yeah, but I thought that was a quirky Dumbledore thing that,
We knew he was lying, though. That's
I
weird.
know.
But still...
He wasn't going to share it with Harry quite yet.
Because he asked, he's like... And Harry's like... In the book, he's like, well, that was kind of a really personal question to ask, so...
Yeah.
I mean, I've had that question in my head, too. I'm like, what would I see in the mirror?
And you get one of the many Dumbledore quotes from the series, which is, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.
Yep.
Classic.
Which is his... And then he's like, the mirror's being moved, don't go looking for it, kittens, bye.
Bye.
And then... the next thing they find out is Hermione comes back from Christmas break.
Yeah, Christmas break is over. Everybody's back.
She still throws down this huge book. Says, I checked this out weeks ago for a bit of reading.
This is light? This is what Ron says to her, and you get one of Hermione's first piercing glares that become more and more frequent as we move on.
Yes. And
I love that glare.
They-
I was like, oh, yes.
she reads and they find out what the Sorcerer's Stone is. So they go to Hagrid to tell him that Snape's after the Sorcerer's Stone. And Hagrid is like, can't entertain today.
He tries to close the door.
And they scream, we know about the Sorcerer's Stone!
That's also where they found, well, with the book, is where they found out where Nicholas Flamel equals Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah, that was the point, that Nicholas Flamel created the Sorcerer's Stone.
And he's in possession of one of the only Sorcerer's Stones.
And he's really old.
He's really 665.
Yes.
That's how old he
Can't
is.
do 666.
Yeah,
That's why she did 665.
Yes. Like, well, we're already playing with witchcraft here. Let's not delve too far down that.
We're not gonna push
it. But anyway, so they find out that, well, they deduce that is what is behind the trapdoor. That's what Snape's after, is the Sorcerer's Stone. So they go to Hagrid.
And Hagrid is working on hatching something in his kettle over the fire.
I'm like, what are you doing?
It's Hagrid. I mean,
You can automatically, if you know Hagrid, know anything about him or what he does at Hogwarts, you just automatically know that it's not something good.
It's something he shouldn't be doing.
Should not have said that.
Should not have said that. So
And Hagrid has a dragon.
He's warming a dragon's egg, because dragons warm their eggs. The mothers warm them with their breath, which dragons can breathe fire. So he literally has an egg just like sitting in a kettle in the fire in his house, and the egg hatches, and there's a baby dragon.
Norbert
the dragon,
it's our Norwegian Ridgeback.
Yes.
which is difficult to say. Norwegian Ridgeback.
Whew, that was a mouthful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're
That's also
talking
kind of
about it.
Sorry, that's
There you
also
go.
kind of like a Norbert Norwegian Ridgeback.
Yeah.
Yeah, Norbert. Yeah,
It
it
kind of works with it.
You
so
don't
that's-
remember
that's
what
fine.
he is.
And they're talking about it, and Ron knows what it is before it hatches because his brother works with them.
His brother Charlie works in Romania with dragons.
Yep. And then they're talking, they're having a conversation about it, and
Hagrid is acting like a mom to
Yes.
this dragon, and he's like, oh, he knows his mama. And he's just loving on this dragon like it's not a dragon, like it's a baby. And they're like, you have got to be out of your damn mind to be treating this dragon like it is just a baby that's not about to burn down your house.
It's like the dragon breathes fire on his beard too.
And so he's putting out his beard.
and
Oven mitts.
out the window is the blonde helmet that is Malfoy.
Malfoy followed them down because it's after hours, and he followed them out of the castle down to Hagrid's hut, and he saw the dragon
Yes.
as well.
So he runs off and tells McGonagall, and at this point I don't know why they don't have the invisibility cloak.
Yeah, like, we just learned we had an invisibility cloak, but let's go without it.
We're just gonna wander around in the dark. It's fine.
Although, to be fair, this happened differently
Yes.
in the books, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, they are going back into the castle, sans invisibility cloak, and McGonagall finds them, who still happens to look like a badass in a bonnet.
Damn straight.
she's literally in her pajamas, and she still looks regal as hell. And Malfoy's like, heh, I got you guys in trouble.
Malfoy looks so proud of himself.
He's so proud of himself. Also,
But they all get detention.
they all lose points, they all get detention, and I'm sorry, the fact that Hermione lost 5 points for fighting a troll, and they lost 50 points apiece for being out of bed seems a little skewed, if you ask me.
Yes.
Agreed.
I was just like, I'm sorry, I don't understand.
I don't understand the point system at all.
Also, and when their detention is, like, it's at night,
You just punish them for being out
at night, and then they go out at night for detention,
Yep.
with Hagrid, who they were with,
Into the Forbidden Forest,
into the
which is
Forbidden Forest.
forbidden.
Like, people!
Literally, the rules just rip up all the rules and throw them out the window.
It's called Hogwarts
This is
logic.
Hogwarts,
Okay.
Because magic.
where the rules are made up and
Points don't matter.
Points don't matter.
Points don't matter because
Yes.
Dumbledore. But
Because
we'll find that
Dumbledore.
out later.
That's true.
um.
Rules are made up points.
Also, Tom Felton looks like Emily Osment. Does anybody else think that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
little tiny Tom Felton looks exactly like Emily Osment, who played alongside Miley Cyrus and Hannah Montana. That is the blonde best friend. If you don't know who she is, she was also in Spy Kids. If you look up a picture of them together, they look the same. You literally just put pigtails on Draco, and that's what it looks
And
like.
he also looks like Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus, when she cuts her hair off and is
Also that.
possessed
When
by the demon.
Yes, and she dyes her hair platinum blonde. She looks like Draco Malfoy.
And
So
she starts twerking on everybody.
yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, they get detention, and the four of them get to go into the Forbidden Forest,
Looking for a unicorn that has been injured.
which is really sad, because what did that unicorn do to anybody else?
It did nothing.
Nothing. Ron and Malfoy are bitches during this whole thing.
Yes.
Terrified of every sound that happens. Which, I mean, I guess is fair, because, you know, they get this whole speech about Forbidden Forest, and then they're like, you know what, let's go in the Forbidden Forest instead.
Yep.
This sounds fun. And you get to hear the first My Father line from Malfoy. My father will hear about this.
It's like, oh, good lord. It started.
It already started.
Here we go.
Here it is.
You hear more about this a couple movies on. I mean, come on.
Okay, so then they go into the forest,
There
and
you go.
they're both bitches, and
Who's
then
both bitches?
Ron and Draco are both bitches,
They're both bitches.
and then it's Draco and Harry
And Fang.
and Ron and Hermione and Hagrid all go.
Yes.
They split up, and they go out and search for they found the blood, and they split up to find the unicorn. And Draco, Fang, and Harry
They find
the unicorn with this mysterious black figure, like
Drinking blood from a
Drinking
unicorn,
blood.
which is really disturbing, actually. Like, that was really, not, like, scary, I guess, but, like, as a child watching that, you're like, what is happening right now?
That was scary.
It's almost more disturbing as an adult, because you're like, unicorns are so pure and happy, magical, and this person's like, I'm gonna drink its blood. Like, whoa, we need to dial this back just a little bit.
The unicorn blood, it
Preserves
life.
Doesn't extend it, it preserves it.
So you can stay exactly as you are for a little bit longer.
Which you find out the person who it is later on, and
it makes sense.
it makes sense. But the figure starts coming towards Draco and
It
Harry.
Slithers.
Slithers.
towards him.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Draco and like Fang just like book
They
it.
bounce.
They're
They're
like
like-
out later.
It's so funny just watching them run.
They're just like running away, and Harry's like crap, and he's just like backing away. And then like you see like this like thing just like jump over
That
it.
Slytherin self-preservation is a real thing.
Yes.
He just bails, like, okay, bye, and Harry's like, maybe we should figure out what is happening, but I'm also scared for my life.
Yeah, the big old thing comes and it's a centaur, so, and he scares it away. That's
He scares the Slytherin figure
figure
away.
and then he tells Harry about like how the unicorn blood preserves
This
life.
is Ferenz.
It's friends.
Meet him
Who
for the
plays
first time.
Ferenz?
Don't know.
Don't know. We'll look it up. We'll
Okay.
find out.
Yeah, that's nice.
But he tells Harry about how, what the unicorn blood does and everything, and you get a half-life from
Hey.
drinking it. Like, shame on you for drinking blood of this pure magical creature.
And he's like, who do you think would want to like do that?
Who would benefit from that?
Who'd benefit for that? He's like, is it Voldemort? And he's like, maybe. I don't know. We'll
And then
see.
he's like, do you know what's in the castle at this very moment? And he,
He's
like, gives him the rest of the clues that he probably
like-
should have already figured out, but it's okay.
I know. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. It's like,
Ray Fearon
Okay, I don't know.
does the voice. I mean, somebody else.
Yeah.
Was,
The-
like, the
Well, I was
the-
going for the voice more than anything.
Ray
The-
Pearson. I
The
don't know.
voice sounded
Fearon. So then after that, it cuts back to the castle. Like, Hagrid finds them and they're all okay, and it cuts back to them walking through the castle, and Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and Harry has an epiphany about Hagrid and how he came to get Norbert, and how it's super convenient that someone knew that Hagrid wanted a dragon, so he just shows up with a dragon egg. He gets it in a pub somewhere, and Hagrid gets a little tipsy and tells him all about
how to get past Fluffy.
how to get past Fluffy, pretty much. And, like, all about his magical creatures and his love of them, and this person gets him to tell him all his secrets.
Yeah, and Hagrid's like, he's let slip. He's like, oh, you just play a little music and he'll fall by your sleep.
Shouldn't have said that.
Should not have said that. And they're like, oh, it's gonna be tonight, you know, because they were wanting to go McGonagall. They're like, we need to talk to Professor
Professor Dumbledore.
Professor Dumbledore. I can talk. And they're like, she's like, oh, he had an urgent owl from the ministry and he left for London. They're like, he's gone? It's like, we need him now. Someone's gonna steal the Sorcerer's Stone. She's like, I don't know how you found out about it, but you need to quietly go away.
Right? She's like, well, he's not here, so sorry.
Yeah, just quietly go back outside.
So then they use the invisibility cloak and go to the 3rd floor corridor where it's off limits.
Yeah, they go to leave because they figured tonight was going to be the night, and they go to the common room and they run into a little bit of a roadblock before they go on their adventure in the form of Neville Longbottom and all his Gryffindor-ness. And he was mad because they have been losing so many points for Gryffindor that he stayed up and blocked them from leaving because he was tired of them getting Gryffindor in trouble.
Yep.
And he's like, I'll fight you. And
Fight you.
he's just so cute, and then Hermione just petrifies him instead, and
Full body bind.
full body bind on him. He's on the floor, and they leave.
Yeah.
So A for effort on Neville's part for standing up to them and trying to prevent them from doing something stupid.
Yep.
It didn't work,
Like
but
Neville.
No, he tried though.
he tried,
Damn it,
and
he
that's
tried.
the point.
That
That
is
is the dang point
That
of
is
being a
Neville's
Gryffindor.
point.
Damn
Period.
straight.
Okay, now you can go.
It's like they go in under the visibility cloak. They go to the 3rd floor. They open it up and they see that someone's already has a harp playing, and Fluffy's already asleep. So they move his paw off the trap door.
His gigantic paw.
Like huge, like
Gigantic.
size of the trapdoor paws.
Yeah, huge paw. And they like pushed over. I'm like, that is impressive for 3 11-year-olds.
Yes.
Right?
Like, that is amazing.
And then as they're doing that and like getting ready to go down, Fluffy wakes up.
And they're like, crap.
So they all just kind of jump in there not knowing what they're getting into.
Fluffy almost eats them.
And there's teachers that all went into protecting the stone. And this is, even though Hagrid doesn't count as a teacher, this is his protection, is Fluffy. So Hagrid is the first level of protection.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next enchantment type thing that they have is this weird plant. And
Drop
it's like,
down into it.
yeah.
Yeah, they fall onto this big giant plant.
And it's
squishy
trying
plant.
that
to
starts to
wrap
cover.
them up and
Yeah.
bind them. And Hermione knows what it is, of course.
Of
It's
course she
Hermione.
does.
I mean, come on.
And Ron and Harry are freaking out. And Hermione's just like, just calm down and you can get out. And she just
Stop moving.
she just sits there calmly and it just lets her go.
And the plant drops her like through the floor. It like lowers her down beneath itself
Yep.
and like deposits her down underneath.
And she's yelling instructions at Harry and Ron.
Ron is panicking.
Yeah.
Ron is struggling as much as he can, screaming at the top of his lungs, doing the exact opposite of what Hermione just said to do.
Yes.
Because it's Ron.
Because it's Ron. And so then
Harry listens, and he gets to fall through, too.
Yep.
Ron panics more because he thinks that the plant is like eating them or something. And
Yeah.
he's just not listening.
And then Hermione's like, well, this is Devil's Snare. It doesn't like sunlight, so she like casts this spell and it's
Yep.
Super bright light spell, and it gets it to drop Ron onto the floor. And he's like, lucky we didn't panic.
Would other spells work during that? Like a Lumos or like a Expecto Patronum sort of thing?
She cast like a more powerful version of Lumos.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, a regular Lumos wouldn't work for the size of the plant, but you could also like light it on fire. You could anything that produces a bunch of light would work for that.
And
That
this-
was Professor Sprout's
Yes.
protection.
We have not met her.
She's the herbology teacher,
Yes.
which is plants and all that jazz.
It also, I realized belatedly that it ends up being the heads of the houses that were the protection. But anyway.
Not in the book.
Not necessarily.
Because
Because
like not in the
the
book.
next level is Keys, and that's
Which is Flitwick. He's the
He's
head of
Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw.
Oh, is he?
And then it's
McGonagall.
McGonagall,
yeah.
and then it's Snape.
We don't show Snape.
They don't show Snape's, but it's
They
still
don't
the
show
heads
it.
of houses plus Hagrid plus. Yes.
Dumbledore.
And in the book, it's actually Quirrell too.
Oh yeah, I guess technically Quirrell.
I forgot. They don't ever really mention it, Flitwick, so I just forget.
Yeah, you don't learn that till later.
Yeah.
As the resident Ravenclaw, she knows this.
I know this. I know who my head of
So
house
the
is.
next level of protection is there's a bunch of keys, and then there's a broom, They're like flying keys. They're keys that have wings, and they're like
And they're fluttering around this room.
And then there's a broom just sitting in the middle of the room. And they see this one key that's kind of like struggling to fly because it has a broken wing from being caught previously by the person who had already come through, which they think is Snape.
Because the door is locked on the other side, and Alohomora is just not doing the trick.
Yep.
Nope, you need a key.
You need a key.
And so they tell Harry that he needs to get on it because he's the best seeker that the school has ever had. So he gets on it and chases the keys around. The keys are all like swarming him.
As soon as he touches the broom, they're like, let's attack Harry!
Yep.
And it makes it a little bit more complicated than just catching a key.
And then they start flying away.
Yep.
Yes.
And then he catches the messed up winged key, which reminds me of Nemo flying.
Kind of. And this poor little broken wing, this key's like, I'm trying to run away! Get away!
He catches it, kind of throws it down to Hermione, and she unlocks the door. They go through, and Harry just kind of flies through and shuts the door behind him so that the keys
slam into the door.
Yeah.
I kind of felt bad for him because they're just like, boom.
Yeah.
I realized they're not like real. They're just enchanted, but whatever.
You
I
still
felt bad for the broken key too because his little wing was broken.
So kippy.
Then
So they go to the next level.
That is the chessboard.
Yes.
Ron gets to do his thing.
Because Ron's really good at chess. So.
Wizard's chess, yes.
It's a giant chessboard. They go in, it looks like a graveyard or a
Yeah.
battlefield or something, and they walk onto the floor and all of the, what do you want to call them, the torches light up around the room,
Yeah.
and it's a giant chessboard, like, larger than life chessboard. And so they try to just go through the other door, and the little figures on the other side are like, no, fuck you, you have to play. And so they pick pieces that they're going to be, and Ron gets to direct them. He gets to be the general.
He's the knight.
He's the knight.
Yeah, he picks a knight.
Let's ride around on a horse.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And he sacrifices himself so that Harry can take
The king.
the king.
Yeah, that's pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
Also, Hermione was kind of dumb during this whole scene. Like, she, like, didn't know what was going on. And, like, I feel like she lost her common sense for a little bit. And I was just like, she's supposed to be, like, so clever and stuff. And she goes to, like, so Ron gets eliminated.
You have to keep in mind that she plays regular chess. She doesn't know
Oh, I know that.
chess.
But even just,
Wizard's
like,
chess.
she's like, what do we do? Like, well, obviously you play across the board. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause she asks that right before, and it's like, well, what do you think you're supposed to do? Like, it's a board. But, then so Ron gets eliminated, and he gets flung off of the piece that he's playing on and slammed onto the floor, and Hermione goes to help him, and Harry reminds her not to move because they're still playing, so she needs to stay on her square.
Yep.
And be the piece that she is and wait until Harry checkmates the king.
Yep.
And Harry does that.
Game over.
And then they run to make sure Ron's okay. And
And there's no... I just am so grumpy that the potions task got left out of the movie.
that was
Like,
really good. That was a thinker.
That was so good. So there's an additional task. There's a couple of additional tasks in the book that they didn't include in the movie for time's sake. One is Quirrell's protection, which was a troll that you had to beat. You had to fight a troll to get through to the next level, and the very last level
Potions.
is the potions task, and it's Snape, and it is not magic, it is a riddle,
Logic.
and it is logic.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate that it wasn't in the movie because this is where Hermione excels, and
Yep.
she was able to figure out the riddle because it didn't require any magical skill at all. It required your brain.
Yes.
My guess is they picked those three because that gave them each something that they were good at and they knew, because Hermione figured out the devil's snare,
Yes.
Harry did the keys, and
Ron did the
chess.
chessboard. Yeah, so they picked one for each of them, and then that was enough, and so they moved on. But I was just sad because it's a really cool moment in the book, and it's all logic and not magic, and yeah, so he made it through all of the levels.
Yeah, so after the chessboard, after they skipped the potions, all that
Yeah,
stuff in the
potions
book,
didn't happen.
Carrie walks down these steps, and he's surprised to not see Snape, but it's Quirrell.
Da 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 da!
Ta-da! Shocker. I remember the first time I read that, I was like, what?
Like, what is happening? It was a good plot twist. Like, the original time first, like, encountering it,
Yeah.
pretty good plot twist.
I was like, what? What?
But going back, you're like, they're trying real hard to make Snape a
got
bad
something to
guy.
say?
I just thought, like, because he was the only one that had an obvious thing, like, visually seeing it, like, he
Okay.
had an obvious thing to
That's fair.
hide something. It's like, oh, that's who it is, okay.
That's a really good, like, point of view, is, like, he physically had something different from everybody else.
Because
so
everybody else
it's
had hair.
like- And he had a turban.
Sort of.
He had hair. He wasn't supposed to, but he had hair.
I love that logic.
Because they all had hair, he had a turban. Why does he have a turban?
That makes a lot of sense.
It does. Nice. I
See,
like that.
outside thinking. We like it.
Yeah. It's Quirrell, and Quirrell is actually looking into the mirror that
got relocated.
got relocated. He's like, how do I get this stone? He uses Harry
Yep.
because his voice tells him to.
Yep. And it ends up that it is in Harry's pocket. And in the mirror, it's in Harry's pocket, and he reaches down, pulls it out in the mirror, and then puts it back in his pocket. And then
Real Harry.
real Harry reaches down and, like, feels, and he's like, oh,
Somehow
this
the
was not
stone-
there.
Yeah, somehow the stone gets from the mirror into Harry's actual pocket in real life.
Because magic.
Because magic. And then he asks him, Quirrell's like, what do you see? And he's like, I see myself winning the House Cup, and then you hear this voice that's like, he's full of shit, and he's like, tell the truth!
Yeah.
And this voice is like, let me speak to him, and so then Quirrell unwraps his miles of turban off of his head, and you get to see scary Voldy face.
Voldemort for the first time. It's like, oh, he's
With
got
a
a nose.
Yeah, with the He's got a nose.
That was my first thought. I was like, oh, he's got a nose. Okay.
You're like, But there's a face sticking out of Quirrell's head,
Back of his head.
the back of his head. So that's why he was wearing the turban the whole time, is because he was hiding Voldemort's face. Also, I had a little. I don't know if I should really. It's something we learn later, but how did Voldemort know that Harry was lying?
Oh, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
We can get into that.
Let's remember to try and come back to Sorcerer's Stone when we get to that later in life.
That
But
would
anyway,
be
that was
order.
something I thought about. So he gets to meet Voldy, and Harry tries to run away, and he's like, stop him. And so then Quirrell just like snaps his fingers, and a bunch of flames show up around the room, which I was like, oh, wandless magic.
All right, let's
All
do
right,
this.
like that's cool. Whatever. And he tells him Voldemort's trying to convince Harry all the great things that they can do if he gives him the stone, like bringing back his parents and stuff like that.
It's
And
like you can't bring back the
like
dead.
that's not how this works.
That's, you can't do that.
And Harry has enough common sense to realize that he's lying, and so Voldemort tells Quirrell, he's like, go handle this. Handle this child that is
like,
being
kill
annoying.
him.
Go get the stone, kill him. And I have to say that he does a really shitty job of overpowering an 11-year-old.
Yes.
Like, he's, like, trying to half strangle him, and it
like-
just...
It's like, you don't really want to kill him. Don't lie.
I feel like the priorities were skewed, like, because Harry drops the stone, because he falls back, and he lets go of the stone, and he's trying to reach for it on the stair. Like, if I'm Quirrell, I just, like, shove Harry to the side, grab the stone,
Yeah.
and then end him, because you already have the stone. Like, whatever. It's fine.
His hand.
And so...
Harry grabs his hand, and Quirrell starts, like, turning to ash.
It starts crumbling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Kinda
his
cool.
whole... It just, like...
He
His hand
doesn't feel
disintegrates.
so good.
Oh, he
my
doesn't feel so good.
That's all I thought of the whole time that was
Holy
happening.
shit.
I mean, kind of. And so then Harry's like, huh, and Quirrell's like, what is this magic? Voldemort's like, I don't care, just kill him.
He runs and puts his hands on Quirrell's face and just like burns his face off pretty much. And he
Which
just
is
crumbled.
Crazy. Like, this is the very first time, like, this kid just got exposed to the magical world, and he just literally disintegrates a man
Yeah.
with his hands.
At 11
Like,
years
turns
old.
into ash, and like... I think that should be more psychologically scarring than it is.
Yes.
He has enough
Because-
physical scars, but it's
Because,
fine.
you know, magic.
Because magic.
Magic.
So it's disturbing. And then Voldy's spirit comes
Flies
out of
at
the
Harry.
ashes and flies through Harry, knocks him on his ass, and flees the building somehow.
Mm-hmm. And
Knocks
then
Harry out.
Harry wakes up in the hospital
Wink.
wing with all kinds of cards and gifts and stuff for him.
And treats. Like
Yes.
candy.
Lots of candy.
Lots of candy. I was excited about the candy. That's me. It's like candy. And then we see Dumbledore come in,
To visit him and check on him.
tells him all kinds of things, like, because Harry asked how he was able to get the stone out of the mirror. And Dumbledore's like, well, only someone who wanted to get the stone, get it, but not use it, was able to get it out of the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why Harry was able to get it, because he just wanted to keep it away from the bad guys. He was never intending on using it for anything, because he's just like a pure kid at this point. Like, his only goal was to get it away from them, and so the mirror was like, okay, here you go.
You can have it.
You can have it.
And Dumbledore explains to Harry how Quirrell couldn't touch him because his mother's love.
Yep.
That great thing of love.
And
Love,
then-
love. Love is the most powerful magic of all.
Exactly. That is Dumbledore's thing.
Love.
Love is the most powerful magic. He says that like all throughout the entire
He
series.
does.
Mm-hmm. And then he eats a Birdie Bots every flavor bean from the end of Harry's bed and hopes it's toffee and it's earwax instead.
Earwax.
Yep.
I mean, Brady Bots is every flavor.
At least it wasn't vomit.
At least it wasn't vomit.
That's true.
Yep. And then Harry goes out and he sees Ron and Hermione, and they all ask if they're okay, and smile at each other. Yay, we're all happy.
Yay.
We didn't die.
Golden Trio reunited!
Yeah.
Ba-da-da.
And then they're at the House Cup awarding
End
ceremony.
of the year feast
Yes.
ceremony. Hoopty, the stupid hats are back.
Yes.
Everybody gets the hats now. The first years have hats now because they completed their first year of Hogwarts, so they get to wear the cone hat.
And like Dumbledore's going through the points is like who got like fourth and third and second and first, and Slytherin won.
By a landslide.
Except that
Except
Dumbledore had last minute
that's
points
the
to
points.
award.
Which is so fucked up, honestly. Like, okay, let's award points because Dumbledore. But I feel bad for the Slytherins. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna throw it out
Thank
there.
you.
They earned those points all year. They did. They answered questions right. They acted right. Like, they were actually good students. They won all these points. And then Dumbledore's like, nah, you know what? Let's give out points for some stupid shit. And Slytherin's gonna lose. Like,
I'm not
what
saying anything.
the heck?
I'm not. I'm just like,
She's like, no, I feel bad for the Slytherins.
How many points do you start out with at the beginning of the year? Does
None.
None.
None? Okay.
0.
Okay.
Yeah.
You earn all the points.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's why, like, you get 10 points for this, 10 points for that. You earn points for answering questions right, for...
Because I feel like the first time
For
you hear
Quidditch,
about
too,
points is them losing
Yeah,
points.
Quidditch teams
From
earn
the get-go.
points.
Yeah, but at that point, people have already won points.
Yeah, but like as a non-person,
Yes.
not knowing, I feel like it's like you start out with like 500 points,
No.
and then you either go up or down from there.
Yeah, they don't really explain
Zero.
the point system very well.
No.
You just end up knowing about it later, and like you
Good
hear
question.
about them like answering, like they answer questions and get points and stuff. You're like, what is the point system? I don't.
I don't get it.
How does
That's
it
that's
work?
one thing I never got.
But yeah, and you were right. That's one thing is that in the books and everything for placing in like Quidditch and like the Quidditch Cup and everything, you get certain points for that too.
Yep.
like if
And
you
so-
win the Quidditch Cup out of all 4 houses, that
Which
really bumps
I
you
believe
up.
Slytherin did
Yeah.
their
Well, because
first year because
in the
you know
book
Harry kind of
was out of
fell out, and without a good seeker, they really just didn't stand a chance.
Exactly.
Anyway, so they're awarding points, and Dumbledore was like, "Actually, I have last-minute points
Hold
to
up.
award."
I mean, I will admit, as a Gryffindor, and Dumbledore is a Gryffindor also, I will admit it's a bit biased. I will admit that.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge! That's the only time I'm admitting it.
That's it. So he awards points to each Ron, Harry, and Hermione for.
And Neville.
And Neville.
Well, I was getting there.
Oh.
So he awards them points because Gryffindor was dead last
Yep.
in
Dead
the points. So he gives Hermione 50 points, Ron 50 points, and Harry 60 points in some weird-ass Dumbledore way saying, like, Harry got points for love, you guys. Like, how...
For courage.
For love and courage, outstanding courage. Hermione got it for use of intellect. Ron got it for playing chess. Like, to anybody who does not know what happened, they're like, what the actual fuck are they getting these points for? And so those points, I'll bring them up. They are tied with Slytherin, and Slytherin's over there just watching their whole feast crumble in front of them, even though they were, like, way ahead of the game. And then Dumbledore decides to award 10 whole points to put Gryffindor in the lead to Neville Longbottom for standing up to his friends.
Yep.
And Neville got to do a thing finally.
And yay Neville, which it was
Yay,
super
Neville!
Yay Neville, and he was shocked because he doesn't do good at anything because he's just kind of a hot mess right now, but it's okay.
Besides
And so
mythology.
Neville won them the house cup.
Yep.
Yay, Neville!
Yay Neville!
And then they are leaving, getting on the Hogwarts Express to go home. And Ron says, "Are you ready to go home?" Or Harry says, "Are you ready?" No, not Harry. Hermione says, "Are you ready to go home?" And Harry's like, "I'm not going home, not really."
Before that.
Because his...
Hagrid in the
home
book.
sucks.
Oh, yeah. He goes and says goodbye to Hagrid, and he gives him the photo album of his parents.
Which I thought was very sweet.
Yep.
So cute. He just pulls a photo album out of his pocket because he's huge.
Yep.
Gigantic pocket, just pulls out this book. It's like, okay.
And
Like-
then,
And then I'm not going home, not really.
because Hogwarts is his home. No.
I was like, oh,
Yay.
right in the
My own
feels.
too.
And then it's the end credits of the first movie.
Hooray!
You made it!
Alright, so next is the music. So, as everyone knows, John Williams did do this score. And he's also known for Star Wars, Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, Indiana Jones and Jaws.
So you
and
know him well.
a shit ton of other things.
Like, you know John Williams' music.
His first ever credited film was Not With My Wife You Don't from 1966 as a conductor, but he got his start on Carousel in 1956 as an additional orchestrator.
That's so cool.
Musical.
Musical.
He won 5 Oscars and 119 other awards. I was not going to list 119 awards.
He's been
so,
nominated for several
Like,
Oscars.
several
I mean, like-
hundred awards.
It's almost like every year. It's like, okay, just
His-
throw John Williams in, it's fine.
His
like,
5
something.
Oscars are for... his first one was Fiddler on the Roof in 1972.
So,
Best Music Score and
Adaptation.
Adaptation and Original Song Score. In 1976, Jaws, Best Music Original Dramatic Score. In 1978, Star Wars, Best Music Original
Oh, yeah.
Score. 1983, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, Best Music Original Score.
Yay.
And 1994, Schindler's List, Best Music Original Score.
Yeah, dude.
I was like, we're gonna see Jaws is coming up very
Uh-huh.
soon, and Schindler's List I know is definitely
It's on there
It's
somewhere.
It's up towards the
it
top.
is near
Yeah.
the top
Yeah.
of my
Yes.
list, so it's gonna be a while.
And few things from the book that were different. We already touched on a couple of them, so we won't hit those again. One thing that I really find irritating is how many things they took from Ron to make him look dumber than he actually is, and gave them to Hermione to make her look smarter than she actually is. Not taking away the fact that she is smart, just they're taking things from Ron that shouldn't have been taken because you're just making him way dumber than he needs to be.
And I mean, Ron is already like the sidekick, and they skew it really hard because I mean, Ron is actually a comical character, and he's actually got some quirky lines and stuff. And
Yeah.
it sucks that they give him to Hermione. Like, I love Hermione. Don't get me wrong; she's one of my absolute favorite characters. But there were definitely some one-liners that belonged to Ron originally, and
Yeah.
it was kind of a bummer.
Anything that irritates you that they took?
I'm trying to think.
What we haven't touched on.
Yeah, just something we haven't touched on.
The only thing I can think of out of the book that they left out is there was supposed to be Malfoy challenges them to a duel at one point,
Yes.
the midnight duel,
Yeah.
and he pretty much just does it to get them in trouble, and Harry and Ron go to meet him wherever, and Filch shows up, and so they bail.
Yep.
And yeah, Malfoy pretty much just did it to get them in trouble, and that was one of the... You have a lot of Malfoy interactions in the book, and they put most of them in the movie pretty
Most
well.
of them.
Yeah.
Also, how Norbert actually leaves Hogwarts was like a minor thing, but that
Yeah.
didn't really like irritate me. Charlie and some of his friends from Romania come and pick him up
Yep.
and take him to be with the other dragons.
Oh, so you actually do get to meet the other Weasley.
Yeah, you
Oh,
meet
Yeah, you
Charlie.
do meet the Weasleys.
Yeah.
Yeah, except you never... You don't get to meet Charlie
In the movies, like
Yeah.
in the
ever.
movies.
Yeah.
Which
Hardly
sucks,
ever.
because I like Charlie. He's cool.
Is there anything in this one you find irritating
Thank
that's missing?
I was like, just some like minor things, like different like hair colors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
With like Dudley's supposed to be a blonde.
Petunia's supposed to be blonde,
One
too, I
thing-
think.
Vernon supposed to be like blonde, or is Vernon supposed to be blonde?
That's
The-
really the only differences
well,
I can
yeah.
think of.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty close.
We talked
That's
about
one of the
rest
closest ones to the actual book, so...
them. Yeah.
Very few Complaints book to movie wise.
Yeah, I agree.
So next is trivia, and Jess didn't really pick any trivia because it's hard to find
It's hard
trivia nobody knows.
Exactly. It's so hard to find trivia that no one knows because all of us.
We're very well versed in
It's hard.
this world, and we all kind of threw in our own tidbits of trivia as we went. So.
That's true.
So, what I did instead is I have the Trivial Pursuit Harry Potter. So I picked 3 questions that related to the first movie. And I'm going to ask you guys.
Oh, good lord.
They're not that hard. Alright, the first one is, who uses the Petrificus Totalis spell on Neville to immobilize him and leave the Gryffindor Tower?
Hermione.
Boom!
Yay!
Eric got it.
We just let him
I'm just gonna let Erik answer.
Alright, and then how many points are Ron and Harry each awarded for tackling the troll?
5 points apiece.
There you go.
Well, then technically it's only 5 afterwards.
5 total because Hermione lost 5.
Yes. And what is the name of Neville's toad?
Trevor.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yay!
You only know that
Trevor.
right at the beginning. He's on the stairs.
It's like,
Well, but
I
she
knew it started with
does
a
say
T.
it on the train though.
Yeah.
She's like, a boy named Neville.
but you gotta really.
Oh, but I guess she doesn't.
She doesn't say his name.
I guess she
just
doesn't
says
say
he's
it in
looking for his
the
toad.
toad.
Yeah.
It says in the book.
Yeah.
Not in the movie.
So next is favorite line.
Where do I frickin' start?
Well, you said yours was the sheer dumb luck.
Yes,
Is that your favorite?
that is my favorite from the movie. 5 points will be awarded for each of you for sheer dumb luck.
There's so many lines. I don't know which one to pick. Okay, I picked one. I'll pick mine. Okay, it's Hermione, and she's telling Ron. She's like, stop, stop, stop. You're going to take someone's eye out.
There you go.
I love that line.
Gosh, it is really hard to pick. I think I really like the I'm going to bed before either of you do something to get us killed or worse, expelled.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
I like, just for the sheer kind of comedic fact of it, is should not have said that. Because it's one of those things, like, as, like, like, when you watch movies, it's like, oh, they're going to build up the plot and everything, or it's like, it's going to be the surprise twist. But no, he's just going to spill all the beans.
I think that one.
That one?
I agree. I like
Should
that
not
one.
have said that.
Should not have said that.
Shouldn't have said that.
Or whatever form of that.
Whatever variation of that line.
Alright. And rating, Eric, what do you think? Out of 10?
8.
8? Okay.
Solid 8.
Dana?
That's hard. Do we do half stars on this? Or just
I mean, you
solid?
can say it. It only lets you put in full stars on IMDb.
Oh, okay. I think I'm honestly going to give it a 9 because it was so true to the book. That's what I liked.
Okay.
I'm giving it the same thing as Eric. Give it an 8. Yeah.
I did as well. I gave it an 8.
Ah! Ta-da!
Alright.
So I feel like it should be rated higher on IMDb
Yeah.
than some other ones, but I won't go into that.
To
We'll
be fair,
do
for
that
a kid's
later.
book, though, getting a 7.6...
Yeah, a children's book, the very first of a series coming into theaters. Not too shabby.
Yeah. Alright, so our next film is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
She has a porg.
I do have a porg. He's so cute.